Hey, welcome to Firescale Audiobooks. If you enjoy our audiobooks, please consider subscribing to the channel. Also, feel free to share your review in the comments section below.
Ling stood still for a moment, his brows furrowed in thought. How could he continue increasing his attribute points efficiently? Once, he was nothing more than a poor fisherman, barely scraping by. Even after awakening the mysterious system, his first instinct was still how to make quick money. But now, things were different. Money still mattered, but it was no longer the priority. He had glimpsed a higher path. The system had revealed a crucial detail to him. If he could offer up 10 energy units, it would trigger an upgrade, unlocking the field domination function. With that, his path to ascension would truly begin. Unlike brute attributes like strength or agility, field domination was a state, a transformation of essence. Once he stepped into that realm, he'd gain mana, and if he came to dominate multiple fields, he could become immortal. Even if the sun and moon fade, I shall remain. Even if heaven and earth crumble, I shall endure. That is the true goal I seek. Compared to such eternity, what was money? Money was merely a tool, a means to an end. He would use it to acquire energy crystals, offer them to the system, and push toward the 10-unit threshold needed for the upgrade. His mindset had evolved. He was no longer the same young Ling who once looked up to local thugs or feared the powerful. Whether it was Tian Mingji or Zhang Chunxia, they were just dust in the wind now. Ants. He had a new mentality, a powerful one. After some internal debate, Yang Ling settled on a balanced development strategy, turning himself into a square monster, evenly growing all 4 primary attributes. With a faint smile tugging at the corners of his mouth, he headed toward the bookstore. There was a long road ahead, and each step mattered. For now, the most urgent task was to be admitted into Donghua University, and preferably to achieve the top score in the national entrance exam. That would qualify as dominating a field. He spent the entire morning in the bookstore, immersed in his studies. Just as he was preparing to leave for lunch, his phone buzzed. It was a call from his father. Huh, that woman wants to meet me. On the other end, Yang Jianjun's voice was filled with excitement. You wouldn't believe it, son. The old patriarch of the Liu family just finalized a marriage agreement with us. Get ready and be at the coffee house by 2 sharp. Don't be late. After hanging up, Yang Ling could only smile wryly. What started as a joke had become reality. The Liu family, a true titan of Jiangnan province. Though the old patriarch had retired, his influence was anything but diminished. A single stomp of his foot could shake not only S City, but the entire region. The Liu family had 3 sons, one a powerful politician, one a high-ranking military officer, and one, now deceased, was a business magnate. That third son left behind a daughter, Liu Muhan, the president and CEO of the Muhua Group. On paper, she controlled billions in assets and stock. In reality, her power reached far deeper, thanks to her family's unmatched connections. Compared to her, Tian Mingji was a joke, laughable. And now, Yang Ling was set to become her fiancée. It was surreal. This was the kind of woman that elite scions and corporate giants would fight over, lining up from S City to Yinjing for a chance to court her. Now, he was being handed that position on a silver platter, but there was a catch. Word had it Liu Muhan was cold as ice and completely disinterested in men. Marrying her might be no different than becoming a widower with a living wife. Even so, the advantages were undeniable. Through her, Yang Ling could tap into an unparalleled network, ideal for acquiring rare energy crystals and opening doors to powerful industries. He looked up at the sky, expression calm. After a long silence, a faint smile played on his lips. By 2 o'clock sharp, he arrived at the agreed-upon location. The cafe was one of the most exclusive establishments in S City, a haunt for the rich and powerful. Only those with status had the right to linger in such a place. Today, Yang Ling stepped into their world. The waitress looked over the young man in plain clothes with mild surprise. Though there was a flicker of disdain deep in her eyes, she kept her tone polite. Do you have a reservation, sir? Yang Ling offered a relaxed smile. Someone should have made one for me. Could you tell me where Liu Muhan is seated? The mention of that name visibly startled the waitress. Director Liu? She quickly straightened up and asked with more respect. You must be Mr. Yang? The one Director Liu is expecting. At his subtle nod, her demeanor shifted completely. Gone was the casual disdain, now replaced with cheerful enthusiasm. This way, please. I'll escort you immediately. She led him across the elegant cafe, weaving past finely dressed guests and softly clinking porcelain, until they reached a quiet, tucked-away corner. There, seated at a round table, were 5 individuals already waiting. At the center sat an elderly man in simple attire, but everything about his bearing radiated authority and calm power. His smile was mild, yet watchful. To his left sat a young man in his late 20s, sharp in a tailored suit. Handsome and well-groomed, yes, but his cold gaze and faint trace of hostility did not go unnoticed. To the old man's right sat a stunning woman in black, casual wear, her long hair cascading effortlessly, framing her delicate face. It was Lu Muhan. Yang Ling had seen many beautiful women in his life. Ex-girlfriends, charming nurses, even glamorous live streamers, but none quite like her. Only Su Qiuxia came close. However, Lu Muhan's expression was icy. As if that wasn't enough, the young woman sitting beside her shot Yang Ling a look of open disdain, her eyes practically shouting, "You? With Lu Muhan? What a joke." The waitress made herself scarce. Tension settled into the air. Then, Lu Muhan spoke first. "You're late." Her voice was crisp, cold. "I despise people who are late. Let's get the divorce papers handled after this." Quite the opening line. Yang Ling blinked, glanced at the nearby clock. 2:03 p.m. He was 3 minutes late. Still, he replied calmly, lips curled into a faint smirk. "Director Liu, we're not married yet. Can't divorce what doesn't exist. If my presence bothers you, I'm happy to leave." Gasps echoed around the table. He'd said it so casually. In front of Mr. Liu, no less. Was this kid arrogant or just crazy? The suited young man smirked smugly. The woman beside Lu Muhan rolled her eyes in ridicule, clearly used to seeing fools make bold plays. Lu Muhan narrowed her eyes. No excuses. She pushed back her chair to rise, clearly ready to walk out. But before she could, the old man's firm voice cut through the tension. "Sit down." Lu Muhan froze mid-motion. She hesitated, then reluctantly returned to her seat, shooting Yang Ling a glare sharp enough to cut steel. Mr. Liu chuckled lightly and turned to Yang Ling. "Xiao Yang, forgive my granddaughter. She has a fiery temper. It's always been her flaw. Come, let's properly introduce ourselves." Yang Ling nodded respectfully. "Elder Liu, you flatter me. Your reputation precedes you. How could I not recognize such a legendary figure? You've devoted your life to the nation. Men like you are honored everywhere." He turned his eyes to Lu Muhan. "And Director Liu here, she's practically a household name. A rising star in business and the famed beauty of Jiangnan province. Who hasn't heard of her?" Lu Muhan's expression remained unreadable. She stared at him coolly, giving away nothing. But in that moment, Yang Ling's presence had shifted the atmosphere, and whether they liked it or not, the game had just begun. Yang Ling didn't care either, and then looked at the young man beside Mr. Liu and said, "This must be Wang Chao, the well-known vice-chairman of Muhua Group, Mr. Wang, right?" Wang Chao nodded slightly, and the disdain and hostility in his eyes became more and more intense. Both his grandfather and father were old men Liu's confidants, and, in his generation, he even sat on the high position of vice-chairman. And he is also one of Lu Muhan's many suitors, and with his family relationship, he has a great chance of being rumored by the outside world. Seeing this kind of look, Yang Ling just sneered. It doesn't matter whether he is the boss or that director. It's best not to mess with him. If he dares to mess with him, he will all send them on their way. Then, he looked at the girl next to Lu Muhan. This girl was also very beautiful. If she was taken alone, she would definitely be a goddess-level figure. But beside Lu Muhan, she looked a little pale. He smiled lightly and said, "If you read correctly, this young lady should be the daughter of the chairman of Yushin Group, Lin Xiaoshuang." Lin Xiaoshuang snorted softly. She was an outsider. She grew up with Lu Muhan and was very close to the Lu family. She said bluntly, "Young Ling, right? We've already figured out your details. I don't want to say bad things in front of the old man. It is absolutely impossible for you and Mu Han to be together with your status, family background, and financial ability. I advise you to die of this heart." Yang Ling smiled lightly. "I've heard of you, but that doesn't mean I know you. Let's not talk about whether you have the qualifications to persuade me. Even if you persuade me, do you think I will ignore you?" You. Lin Xiaoshuang was stunned by one sentence, but she didn't know how to refute it. She stared at Yang Ling bitterly, as if she was planning some words to counterattack. Lu Muhan frowned slightly. She knew this best friend too well. The eldest lady had a temper. Once she got angry, she might be very embarrassed. She squeezed Lin Xiaoshuang's hand lightly under the table, signaling her to be calm. Lin Xiaoshuang snorted softly when she saw this, and simply turned her head away from Yang Ling. As soon as we met, the atmosphere was very awkward, but Mr. Lu nodded slightly in his heart. He has seen many young people who are interested in Lu Muhan, but no matter which family they are, they're always respectful in front of him and keep their attitude very low. Facing this granddaughter's best friend, Lin Xiaoshuang, it was too late to curry favor. He agreed to Lin Xiaoshuang's coming today because he wanted to take the opportunity to see Yang Ling's demeanor and character. Now it can be seen that Yang Ling's attitude and tone are not humble, and after being ridiculed, he immediately sarcastically returned, refusing to take any losses. In addition, he had a feeling in his heart, as if the young man in front of him didn't care about his identities at all, and there was even a trace of disdain and pride hidden deep in his eyes. For a child from an ordinary family to have such a bearing, he was surprised and curious at the same time. Where did this kid get his confidence? Mr. Lu said with a chuckle. "That's all right, just don't say a few words. Xiaoling, you should know about your marriage with Muhan, right? You said something wrong just now. Old man, I have made my own decision and have already completed the marriage procedures for you." As he spoke, he nodded to Wang Chao. Wang Chao took out a red booklet from his briefcase with a gloomy expression and handed it to Yang Ling without saying a word. In the end, it turned out to be the marriage certificate of himself and Lu Muhan. The date was today, and there was even a group photo on it. It was really P's perfect fit. This also shows the strength of the Lu family from the side. In a word, the marriage certificate can be obtained. This, Yang Ling smiled bitterly and said, "Old man, are you too anxious?" Mr. Lu laughed and said, "Your grandfather and I have a lifelong friendship, which was agreed long ago. I'm afraid my granddaughter won't want it. Lu Muhan has a dark face. She's a big girl with yellow flowers. She was forcibly married without even having a relationship. How can she not be angry?" She looked at Yang Ling, the culprit, with hatred, wishing she could get a divorce immediately and send this damned man to a foreign country, so as not to come back for the rest of her life. Seeing the cannibalistic eyes of the female president, Yang Ling touched his nose, feeling a little guilty in his heart. On the surface, it seems that he is also a party to the arranged marriage and a victim, but he really did it. At this time, the voice of the system sounded in his mind. "Ding, it has been detected that the person associated with the system, Lu Muhan, has a negative view of you. Now release the first system task. Within 30 days, if you can change her attitude and make her have a positive view of you, you will be rewarded with an unlimited wishing opportunity. If you fail the task, 3 skills will be randomly deducted from you. Currently, the intimacy between Lu Muhan and you is -70, and the mission goal, the intimacy, is above 50. Yang Ling was taken aback. He didn't expect that the system would release a task, and it involved the concept of a system-related person. Presumably, it should be the previous unlimited wishing. The system scan confirmed that Lu Muhan was the right candidate, so he became a related person. Speaking of which, what the hell is an intimacy of -70? This is already hatred, right? System, where is my charisma? Why doesn't it work? Ding, it's been detected that Lu Muhan's charisma is higher than yours, and your charisma can't have any effect on it. Yang Ling was stunned when he heard this. This young lady is very good-looking, capable, and rich, and her charm value is definitely very high. And here, whether it is Mr. Liu or the other two, one has a high leadership charisma, and the other two are definitely not low in charisma. No wonder they don't have a natural and close affection for themselves like ordinary people. For the first time, he felt that the attribute of charm value seems to be not bad. Seeing that young Ling was in a daze, the old man thought it was because he couldn't accept such an arranged marriage. He laughed and said, "Xiao Yang, you don't have to worry. After you marry Mu Han, you will work in Mu Hua Group from now on. As for your parents and sister, I will also make proper arrangements, so you can rest assured. In addition, your wedding photos, wedding and wedding room, I will let people do it later, but you also have to provide snacks." Yang Ling smiled wryly, while Lu Muhan's face became darker and darker. If Grandpa was not the person she respected the most, he would have already left in a hurry. Lin Xiaoshuang sneered, and Wang Chao looked at Yang Ling with resentment. Needless to say, this vice president already hated Yang Ling to the core. The old man seemed to turn a blind eye to these, or he didn't wear them on purpose, and wanted Yang Ling to solve it himself. The more he talked, the more excited he became, and even talked about the child's surname in the future, education, etc. Yang Ling's scalp tingled when he heard it, and he wished he could leave now. After chatting for a while, the old man chuckled and said, "I'll go to the bathroom, and you young people can also communicate with each other." After speaking, he got up without anyone to accompany him, and walked not far away in a good mood. As soon as he left, the situation immediately became awkward. Wang Chao seemed to have endured it for a long time, only to hear him sneer and say, "Yang Ling, I've already investigated your details. Your grades are poor, your family is poor, and you have no skills at all. I heard that you had a fight with a group of prostitutes a few days ago. A person of your character, not to mention being Mu Han's husband. Even if you wash the toilet in our group, you are not wanted. I don't want to talk nonsense to you. 100 million. I told the old man that I would take the initiative to divorce." These words were a bit hurtful. Lu Muhan frowned slightly and wanted to say something, but in the end he held back. But Yang Ling just looked at Wang Chao calmly and said lightly, "What if I don't want to? Do you think you have little money?" It was Lin Xiaoshuang who spoke, and she sneered, "As much as you want, let's make a price." Seeing that Yang Ling's expression was only indifferent, she became more and more annoyed and said softly, "Yang Ling, I won't talk about your family background. According to our investigation, your grades in high school were below average, your character was weak, and you couldn't even be a human being. It's a toad who wants to eat swan meat and even praises you. Sister Mu Han is a phoenix in the sky, and you're an ant on the ground. People have to know themselves. Don't you have any clues in your heart?" Yang Ling's expression turned cold, and he sneered, "Who is the ant and who is the phoenix? Isn't it too early to draw conclusions? If it wasn't for the sake of the old man, you two bastards would have to lie down and go out." "You." Lin Xiaoshuang's face was livid, and Wang Chao said coldly, "Yang Ling, we are bastards, so what are you?" "What am I?" Yang Ling said lightly, "I'm someone you can't afford. I will warn you one last time. If you still dare to buzz in my ears, you will bear the consequences." When he said this, a faint aura burst out from Yang Ling's body, and the two of them were shocked, and they didn't dare to refute for a while. The disdain in the eyes of the young man in front of him is like a dragon looking at the ants on the ground. Even Lu Muhan was a little startled. He had met many big people with his grandfather since he was a child. This kind of look seemed familiar, but it was a little different. But she has a fire in her heart, and she refuses to accept it. She stood up suddenly and said, "Enough. What's the point of what you say now? What can you prove? I don't despise you for having no money, nor do I despise you for being incompetent, but I despise you for not being a man. A person who can't even protect his girlfriend. How can you give me happiness?" These words can be said to be very heartbreaking, and they directly hit Yang Ling's sore spot. He fell silent, and Fang Yue was snatched away. Although he beat Tianjui hard, he still lost his girlfriend after all. This is his failure, undeniably, and he has made up his mind that the lost dignity will be regained one day. But he really can't prove anything now. Seeing that he didn't say a word, with a wry smile on the corner of his mouth, Lu Muhan realized that what she said was serious, and she calmed down and sighed softly. Let's get a divorce. We are really not suitable. Yang Ling breathed out, looked at the cold but beautiful woman in front of him, and said with a faint smile, You guys have the ability to get a marriage certificate. I think the divorce certificate shouldn't be too difficult, right? Whether you want a divorce or not is not a matter of your Dong Lu's words. But I hope you won't regret it in the future, Lu Muhan said calmly. I never regret anything I do. Just when she was about to continue talking, Wang Chao's phone rang suddenly, and he hurriedly got up and said, I'm going to see the old man, and walked quickly to the toilet. Interrupted by this, both of them calmed down. No one spoke for a while, and the scene was very awkward for a while. Yang Ling was angry in his heart, but he drank his coffee calmly, with a calm expression on his face, without saying a word. After a while, Mr. Lu and Wang Chao both came back. The old man laughed and said, Xiao Ling, I heard that you killed 3 robbers by yourself. I also watched that video. You're truly a hero. Yang Ling smiled and said, It's just good luck. The old man has won the prize. Mr. Lu became more and more happy when he heard the words. It could be seen that he was very satisfied with this grandson-in-law. At this moment, Wang Chao's cell phone rang suddenly, and when he picked it up, his face changed drastically. It's no good, madam. Madam has been kidnapped. What? As soon as these words came out, everyone in the room was shocked. The wife he was talking about was Lu Muhan's mother, Xia Fian. Lu Muhan's face darkened, and he immediately picked up his mobile phone to call his mother. But Wang Chao said in a trembling voice, Chairman, the kidnappers called with Madam's mobile phone. Hearing this, Lu Muhan's face turned pale. She is a strong woman, and the female president is true, but after all, she is only a girl in her early 20s. When she encounters this situation, she suddenly becomes confused. At this moment, the old man said in a deep voice, Give me the phone. After a while, Mr. Lu threw his phone to the ground angrily, gritted his teeth, and said, There are still people who dare to do such a thing in today's society. Wang Chao, call the police immediately and bring these criminals to justice. Wang Chao smiled wryly and said, Master, the kidnappers clearly stated that they cannot call the police, or else they will tear up their tickets. Are we? At this time, Lu Muhan, who looked distraught, also said eagerly, Grandpa, give them money if they want it. You can't risk your mother's safety. After hearing the words, Mr. Lu was silent for a moment, as if he had aged several decades in an instant. He waved his hand and said, The kidnapper asked us to stay in the coffee shop, and we are not allowed to go anywhere. Muhan, call back and collect money. They want $1 million. Send the money here. Wang Chao, go and book the coffee shop. Don't make too much noise. The two nodded in a hurry, and Mr. Lu sat down with a wry smile, looked at Yang Ling and Lin Xiaoshuang, who was pale and frightened, and said, Sorry, the kidnappers are afraid to call the police after you leave, so they asked you to stay here too. Scared you? I will make up for it later. Lin Xiaoshuang had lost her sense of propriety and nodded in a panic, while Yang Ling's face was calm, but there was a faint gleam in the depths of his eyes. I have to sigh, the Lu family really has energy, but within 2 hours, a Mercedes-Benz commercial vehicle was parked outside the coffee shop, which was full of cash. At this time, the kidnapper's phone rang again, asking everyone to leave the commercial vehicle at a distance of 30 meters. The Lu family had no choice but to follow suit. After a while, an ordinary van drove over, and a man wrapped in black and wearing a Zhu Beiji mask got off. He walked quickly to the commercial vehicle and started the vehicle directly, but he didn't rush. Leave. Mr. Lu received a call from the kidnappers, and they changed their minds, not only wanting $1 million cash, but also shares of Muhua Group stock. But there's another prerequisite. They can keep up with the commercial vehicle full of money to the signing place. If they can't keep up, the cash will be gone, and they will have to tear up the ticket. In addition, they're not allowed to drive their own luxury cars. They must drive that van. This is clearly making things difficult for the Lu family. Mr. Lu was furious. What was his status? This group of helpers was so arrogant. Normally, With a single phone call from him, these kidnappers would not be able to escape even if they went to heaven and earth. But now the Liu family's weakness has been pinched. He has no choice but to compromise. Glancing at the young man behind him, he shook his head slightly. The old man used to be the commander of the driving company on the battlefield to aid the Bebe baseball team. In terms of driving skills, I am afraid that no one among the young people here can compare to him. But his old bones, forget it. Mr. Liu Baichuan sighed softly and said, Muhan, Wang Chao, follow me into the car. Liu Muhan's eyes turned red, and she said eagerly, Grandpa, you have old injuries. Let me drive it. The old man shook his head and said, You can't do this as a girl. Let me do it. But Liu Muhan wanted to say something more, but the old man shook his head and said, Stop talking. Get in the car. Said to go first. Liu Muhan didn't dare to disobey, and followed with a wry smile. Behind him, Yang Ling said calmly, Mr. Wang, you can't drive? Wang Chao glanced at him, shook his head, and said, My skills are not as good as Muhan's, so let's not delay the business. Is it? Yang Ling smiled non-committally, glanced at Lin Xiaoshuang, who was pale beside him, and said, Go home. After saying that, he walked up quickly, got in the driver's seat before the old man, and said calmly, I'll drive. You? Several people were slightly taken aback. Wang Chao sneered and said, According to my investigation, you don't even have a driver's license. Can you hold the steering wheel correctly? I'm afraid there will be a car accident after driving only a few meters away. Liu Muhan raised eyebrows when he heard the words and scolded, Yang Ling, don't mess around. Get out of the way immediately. Mr. Liu also sighed softly. Xiao Ling, I know what you mean, but this is not a joke. You go back. This matter has nothing to do with you. Yang Ling smiled lightly. I haven't resigned from the law enforcement team yet. Since I met him, how can it be said that it has nothing to do with me? Several people were taken aback when they heard the words, and then they remembered that this young man was a hero who solved the serial robbers all by himself. Seeing his calm expression, with a faint smile hanging on the corner of his mouth, his confidence and calmness made people feel at ease. After Mr. Liu was silent for a while, he nodded and said, Okay, old man, I trust you. Boarding. As he spoke, he was the first to sit on the co-pilot. Seeing this, Liu Muhan didn't say anything, and also got into the van. Seeing that Wang Chao didn't get in the car for a long time, Yang Ling asked in surprise, Mr. Wang, aren't you going? Wang Chao said seriously, The old man often said that all eggs should not be put in one basket. I will drive my own car and follow you from afar. Mr. Liu nodded and said, Don't get too close. Xiaoling, it's not too late. Let's go. The corner of Yang Ling's mouth curled up, and a system notification sounded in his mind. Ding, start driving mastery. Immediately afterwards, he held the steering wheel with one hand and quickly shifted gears with the other. The clutch slammed loudly. After a set of smooth operations, the van sped out like a sports car. 10 seconds, just 10 seconds. The van is directly linked to the highest gear. The old man gasped. His eyes showed disbelief. He has seen many master drivers, but there is only one who can drive such a broken van to full speed within 10 seconds. Although Liu Muhan in the back seat didn't know much about it, she was also a person with a driver's license. She was equally surprised by this set of operations. I saw the van speeding at a speed of dash yards on the busy road, and it was astonishing as the world's top football stars galloped past people on the green field. The eyes of many passers-by almost popped out. Digger, is that a van? Oh my God, why do I feel like this broken van is flying? Husband, isn't the Schumacher you like in a car? Passers-by were amazed, and the traffic police were equally dumbfounded. On this section of the road, during this period of time, there are many violations, but this is the first time I have seen someone who can exceed the speed limit by 50%. The key point is that this is still a jingling van. Inside the car, Liu Muhan's pretty little mouth opened into an O shape, his face full of disbelief. When you go back, you must fire the guy who investigated Yang Ling's back. No driver's license? With this technology, let alone a car driver's license, even a Formula car driver's license can be obtained. The old man's eyes widened. He stared at Yang Ling's operations, as if he had forgotten about his daughter-in-law being kidnapped. The so-called layman looks at the excitement, and the insider looks at the doorway. Yang Ling's series of operations can no longer be described as smooth and smooth. They are called miraculous skills. This car is driven like an art, flashing and turning, and seeing stitches when there is no time. He has lived for so long, and he has never seen anyone who could drive a car to this extent. Ding, you fulfill the old man's wish to appreciate the art of driving, and the wish value is +1. Although he earned another wish point, Yang Ling smiled wryly, and the old man asked curiously, Xiao Ling, what's wrong? Yang Ling sighed softly. The brakes of this broken car are broken. What? The old man and Lu Muhan turned pale with shock. The current speed is 110 yards, and the car cannot slow down if the brakes are broken, so there's no need to say more about what it means. Lu Muhan's face turned pale. After all, the old man has experienced a lot of wind and waves. He frowned and asked, could it be that group of kidnappers tampered with the car? Yang Ling nodded silently. None of the 3 people in the car had extraordinary minds, and they immediately thought of something. The robbers want to cause a car accident and let them die. Lu Muhan took a deep breath and forced herself to calm down. She asked in a deep voice, Yang Ling, can you stop the car? Stop. Yang Ling smiled lightly and said, stopping now isn't all previous work in vain? Sit still. As he said that, he stepped on the accelerator to the bottom, and the engine of the van made a violent roar, and it jumped out at a faster speed than before. The brakes failed, and this little van was galloping like a dying warrior. Lu Muhan didn't dare to look at it anymore. She closed her eyes gently and entrusted her life to the young man in the driver's seat. However, Mr. Lu was shocked in his heart. Facing such a situation, at such a thrilling moment, the young man beside him smiled lightly, and his eyes always showed a faint confidence. At this moment, he finally understood a sentence. What does it mean that Mount Tai collapses in front of him without changing his face? What kind of existence is this child? After driving all the way, the van left the central city in 5 minutes, and the number of vehicles on the road suddenly decreased, and Yang Ling could clearly see the Mercedes-Benz commercial vehicle not far ahead. However, he didn't find Wang Chao's car from the rear mirror. After frowning slightly, he seemed to have thought of something, and a sneer appeared on the corner of his mouth. Feeling that the car was no longer elegant, Lu Muhan instinctively opened his eyes, and after seeing the scene in front of him, he breathed a sigh of relief. Mr. Lu also breathed out a foul breath. Xiao Ling, the car in front is slowed down. Please find a way to slow down first when shifting gears. Yang Ling smiled wryly and said, the gearbox is also broken, and the gear position is just a decoration now. This, Mr. Lu smiled wryly. Even the gearbox was broken. It would be difficult for this car to stop. Lu Muhan stared at Yang Ling and said, can you slow down? If you can send us to the trading place smoothly, I promise to accompany you on a date afterwards. Dating? Yang Ling looked back at her upon hearing this, and said with a faint smile, Dong Lu, don't you want a divorce? It's better to avoid it. I dare not let you, the female president, be wronged. What? Lu Muhan's face turned pale, and then she blushed a little. She looked down on Yang Ling before, but it's really inappropriate to say such things now. But she knew very well that if it wasn't for Yang Ling, if she or her grandpa were driving this car, the car would have crashed and died. She had seen Yang Ling's ability along the way, and now the only thing she could rely on was this young man. Lu Muhan is not an idiot. On the contrary, she is very shrewd. If it were someone else, she might promise a lot of money. But with the temperament Yang Ling showed before and the ability he showed now, I'm afraid that money may not be able to impress him. And what makes me most confident is not her identity as a female president, but her appearance. That's why she said that she agreed to a date. When she wanted to come and propose a date by herself, no man could refuse. But what I didn't expect was that Yang Ling flatly refused, and even mocked her faintly. There are countless men who want to date me, but now this little man refuses. This made her a little angry, but she couldn't attack it. There was a strange feeling in her heart. Naturally, Ling didn't care what the female CEO was thinking. There was a glint in his eyes, and he slammed the steering wheel. The van spun rapidly on the spot, and he wanted to rely on the strong ground friction to slow down the car. And actually did. This is really amazing. Passing vehicles and pedestrians gasped one after another. Car God, this is the car God. Many people directly took out their mobile phones to take pictures and wanted to post this miraculous scene on the internet. After spinning around for a while, the speed of the car dropped to 60 yards, and then followed the Mercedes-Benz commercial vehicle in a steady manner. Mr. Liu has already been numb from the shock. Ling's car skills are unheard of. He can easily win the championship if he participates in any rally with just this one hand. The key point is that this kid can still fight. His mind is calm, confident and calm. He had already made up his mind that after this incident, Ling must be firmly tied to his granddaughter. Such a grandson-in-law is many times stronger than those sons-in-law. 15 minutes later, at the top of a remote, winding mountain road, the commercial vehicle stopped. A villa stood alone in front of it. Ling keenly discovered that in the open space behind the villa, there was a huge monster wrapped in oil, but he couldn't see what was inside. Tir Lala. The commercial vehicle stopped, but the van did not brake, and it seemed impossible to stop safely. Of course, it was difficult in the eyes of others, but for Ling, nothing was impossible. I saw the van rushing into a building under construction not far away, and something magical happened. After one rotation, 2 steel bars extending from the concrete wall were accurately inserted into the gap between the wheels. The wheels deformed under the huge force, and then firmly fixed in place, the van stopped instantly. Unbelievable! Boom! With a muffled sound, Ling kicked the door of the car flying and walked out first, while Mr. Liu and Lu Muhan both shook their dizzy heads and walked down slowly. The old man is always strong, and there is nothing wrong with him except that his head is a little dizzy. Ding, you have fulfilled the wish of Lu Muhan and Mr. Liu to get off the car safely. The wish value is +1. The current progress, 5/10. Ding, you smashed the robber's wish to kill you in a car accident. Attribute point +1 inch. At this time, the robbers in the commercial vehicle in front jumped out of the car, gave Ling a thumbs up, and hooked their fingers, signaling them to enter the villa. Seeing this, Mr. Liu walked slowly towards the villa with Lu Muhan's support, and when he passed by Ling, he said, "Xiao Ling, you've done a good job. The next thing is about me and Muhan. You can wait outside." Ling fell silent. Indeed, this was not his business. He had already saved the lives of the grandpa and grandson, so even if he looked back now, he would not have any psychological burden. Besides, what Lu Muhan said before would make anyone angry. He looked at Mr. Liu, who was still a little pale, and then at Lu Muhan, who was obviously feeling uneasy. Although this woman didn't say anything, she couldn't hide the longing in her eyes. Even she would be afraid in such a situation, and would hope for a man she could rely on. Ling sighed, and suddenly smiled slightly. This group of robbers almost killed me. Ling, never take revenge overnight. As he spoke, he walked forward without hesitation. Mr. Liu showed a gratified smile, while Lu Muhan stared blankly at the back of the man in front of him. I said such ugly words before, which hurt his heart, but this man, in a critical moment, still stood in front of her. For a moment, she was wrapped in a sense of guilt, but also a sense of security filled her heart. Ding, you have fulfilled Lu Muhan and Mr. Liu's wish for you to accompany me. The wish value is +1, and the current progress is 6/10. Boom! With a muffled sound, Ling kicked out. This kick was so powerful that it directly sent the door of the villa flying. He jumped into the villa, and what he saw shocked him. In the empty hall of the villa, there was a beautiful woman in expensive clothes, but her mouth was covered by a cloth strip. The beautiful woman's body is covered with strange wires, and the other end of the wires is connected to a piano. Around the beautiful woman stood 4 or 5 men in black. These men were wearing masks, but all the sprayers in their hands were directed at Ling. "Mom, Seeing his mother like this, Lu Muhan screamed and was about to rush up, but was pulled back by Yang Ling. The beautiful woman also shook her head vigorously, signaling her daughter not to come. Mr. Lu walked in slowly, glanced at his daughter-in-law, and then said in a deep voice, "Where's the person who signed the contract? Come out." Clap, clap, clap. There was applause from the second floor, and a young man wearing a monkey mask came down, only to hear him laughing. As expected of Mr. Lu, he is really calm. But before signing the contract, I thought of another condition. This man was wearing a voice changer. His voice was extremely hoarse. He pointed at Lu Muhan and said, "Dong Lu, I have admired you for a long time. If you're willing to stay with me for one night, I guarantee that your Lu family will leave here safe and sound. How about it?" "Delusion," Mr. Lu shouted angrily. "You dare to touch a single hair of my granddaughter-in-law. I guarantee that you will not be able to escape from S City." "Ha ha ha." The man laughed loudly and said, "Old man, we are all poor people. You are different. If you offend me, at worst, you will die together." Old man Lu was so angry that he almost couldn't stand still. The man sneered and said, "What about Director Lu? Have you considered it? If you don't want to, not only you will die, but your mother will also be electrocuted to death by high-voltage electricity. You don't want to see this happen, do you?" Lu Muhan's face was pale, and her silver teeth were almost gnawed into pieces, but she looked at Mr. Lu and Yang Ling beside her, and at her mother, who was already crying so hard. She said, Wait a minute." Before the words fell, a faint voice sounded. It was Yang Ling who spoke, and he took a step forward, protecting Lu Muhan behind him, and said calmly, "What you mean is if Director Lu refuses to agree, you won't even ask for money, and you'll tear up the tickets on spot? You admire Lu Dong, but your other brothers admire Qian. These words are really ulterior motives." As soon as this remark came out, several other robbers in the field looked at the monkey mask man at the same time, and one of them said, "Brother, stocks are important." The man in the monkey mask looked at his brothers, and after a moment of silence, he looked at Yang Ling and said coldly, "Very good, very good. After signing the contract, I will take care of you slowly." He waved his hand and said, "Bring it up." "Ding, you shattered the bandit leader's wish to coerce Lu Muhan. Attribute point +1. The corner of Yang Ling's mouth curled up. The situation is extremely dangerous now. He directly added attributes to his strength. Now his strength has reached 16 points. A moment later, at a square table, Lu Muhan looked at the contract in his hand, and the person holding the pen trembled slightly. 10 shares. That's close to 3 million. Money is second, but what's scary is the monkey-faced masked man sitting across from him. The eyes looking at her were full of greed. She was really afraid that after signing her name, this man would kill other people and abuse herself. "Why, Dong Lu, if you don't sign, how can you save your mother?" Lu Muhan tried her best to calm herself down. She looked at her grandfather beside her, as if she was looking for support. Mr. Lu sighed and nodded slightly. Seeing this, Lu Muhan took a deep breath and planned to sign his name. Everyone's eyes were focused on Lu Muhan's brushstrokes, and the eyes of the monkey-faced masked man shot out an extremely greedy light. But at this moment, a big hand reached out and held Lu Muhan's small hand. "Okay." Everyone was taken aback, only to see Yang Ling picked up the contract and suddenly grabbed the paper with all his strength and tore it apart. I saw that there was actually a piece of paper as thin as a cicada's wing in this contract. "Share, transfer, letter." Lu Muhan glanced at it and exclaimed in surprise. This piece of paper turned out to be a share transfer letter, and all the shares were transferred. Yang Ling looked at the masked man with a monkey face and said with a faint smile, "This is a synthetic paper compressed using banknote photocopying technology. It's going to swallow the Muhua group without making a sound. What a big appetite. Isn't it, Mr. Wang?" "Yes." As soon as these words came out, Lu Muhan and the others gasped. The monkey-faced masked man stepped back 3 steps in shock and looked at Yang Ling in disbelief. "Ding, you shattered the bandit leader's wish to deceive Lu Muhan. Attribute point +1. Yang Ling said lightly. Before you didn't want to get in the car, I suspected you. After that, it disappeared from our sight. Did you go to take a small road, to take a helicopter? The man heard the words and shouted, "Nonsense! I will shoot you. If I didn't tell you, wouldn't you know how to troll me?" Ling said indifferently, "You tampered with our van in the hope that we would die in a traffic accident. If you kill Madam again, the entire Muhua group will have no leader. Didn't you just leave it at your mercy? This contract is just your backup plan, right? Actually, at the moment we came, you had already made up your mind to kill us, right?" The man with the monkey face mask had calmed down now, and he said coldly, "Then how can you be sure that I am Wang Chao?" "How to be sure?" Ling smiled lightly. "Mr. Wang, you changed your clothes, pants, shoes, and mask, but unfortunately you didn't change your socks. Unfortunately, I have no other skills, but I will never forget things I have seen once." As soon as this remark came out, several people were taken aback. Looking down, the masked man was actually wearing plaid socks. This pair is a limited edition of a certain luxury brand. Double. Hearing this, the man took off his mask abruptly, revealing Lu Shan's true face. Who else is it if it's not Wang Chao? Ding, you shattered Wang Chao's wish to pretend to be a bandit leader. Attribute point +1. After gaining 2 more attribute points, Ling added to his strength again, and the current strength has reached a terrifying 18 points. Wang Chao's camouflage was torn apart, and he looked at Lu Muhan's mad way. Why? Why don't you ever look at me? What did I do wrong? Why did you marry this Ling? Say, why can't you accept me? Lu Muhan calmed down at this moment. She looked at Wang Chao and sneered. You embezzled the company's property in private without telling me, and raised 7 lovers outside. Don't you really think I don't know? You know, Wang Chao laughed and said, so what if you know? Is it a problem for a man with a successful career to have 3 wives and 4 concubines? A successful career? Lu Muhan seemed to know that he was going to die at this moment. So he just sneered and said, are you considered successful in your career? In my opinion, your ability is not even enough to be a supervisor. Don't you know how you got this position? Wang Chao was hit mercilessly, and his face turned ferocious. He said with a grim smile, okay, I'll show you what ability is in bed later. Then he looked at Old Man Lu suddenly and shouted angrily, Old Man you, how much our family has paid for you? My father blocked the bullet for you and died. What did you give me? You know that I like Muhan. Why do you want her to marry an outsider? Mr. Lu snorted coldly and said, I have already seen that your intentions are not right. If it weren't for your father's face, do you think you could be the vice president of Muhua Group? Insane. Ha ha ha. Wang Chao laughed wildly and said, yes, you read that right. I'm out of my mind. But after today, whether it's Muhan or Muhua Group, it's all mine. As he said that, his face turned cold. He looked at Ling and said, it's you. It is because of your appearance that I have to take the risk. Everything is your fault. You also want to get your hands on Muhan? What kind of thing are you? I want you to die. I want her whole family to die. I heard you have a younger sister and an ex-girlfriend. I'm going to kill them on the bed. Let you also taste what it's like to lose your own woman. Ling looked at this person indifferently and said with a sneer, have you finished your nonsense? Okay. Several people in the field were slightly taken aback when they heard this, but Ling had already made a thunderous move. Ding, throwing proficiency skill activated. He raised his hand, and the 4 coins shot towards the 4 gun-wielding robbers. With the blessing of 18 points of power, the lethality of the coins cannot be underestimated. At the same time, he exploded. Ding, Lingbo Weibu skill is activated. With the blessing of skills, Ling's speed completely surpassed the limit of human beings. Almost at the same time, the 4 coins hit their targets at the same time as Ling. The hand of the robber holding the sprayer was hit by a coin, and he couldn't hold it on the spot, and the sprayer fell in response. At the same time, Ling's fist hit Wang Chao's face fiercely. Boom! With a muffled sound, Wang Chao fell to the ground on the spot. His whole face turned bloody, and he passed out without even screaming. If Ling didn't want to kill people, this person would already be a corpse at this moment. After finishing Wang Chao, Ling didn't stop and moved again. Before the kidnappers could react, they were all knocked unconscious to the ground. Instant kill. In just a few breaths, the kidnappers who were so arrogant just now all fell to the ground. Silence. Deathly silence. Mr. Liu and the others looked at Ling in disbelief. This young man, with an indifferent expression and a hint of coldness in his eyes, looked like a god to them at the moment. Lu Muhan covered her small mouth, maybe because of fear or shock or sudden safety. She burst into tears at this moment. Ding, you have fulfilled the wish of Mr. Liu and Lu Muhan. The wish value is +1. The current progress, 7/10. Ding, you smashed the wishes of the robbers. Attribute points +1. Ling didn't look at them, but stepped on Wang Chao's thigh. Under the severe pain, the man woke up again. Mr. Wang, what were you going to do just now? Let me hear you again. Wang Chao screamed in pain again and again, and seeing that his subordinates had fallen to the ground, life or death unknown, he howled, How did this happen? Why did it happen like this? Ling, you bastard, I want to kill. Before he finished speaking, one of Wang Chao's calves was directly broken. Ling Han said, I am a fair person. You scolded my sister and ex-girlfriend just now, and I will break both of your legs. As he said that, he kicked down again, directly breaking his other leg. Wang Chao's miserable howling resounded through the villa. Lu Muhan seemed to be unable to bear it, and said, Ling, forget it, the authorities will naturally judge him. Ling glanced at her indifferently, and said with a sneer, Dong Lu, this person wanted to torture and kill you just now. The kindness to the enemy is the cruelty to oneself. Don't you understand this truth? These words meant a bit of reprimand, but the voice was not loud, but not angry. Lu Muhan's heart skipped a beat. Besides his family, which man would dare to talk to him like that? But when she met Ling's eyes, she didn't dare to look at him. Although she felt a little strange in her heart, she still lowered her head and stopped talking. Ding, you shattered Lu Muhan's soft-hearted desire for mercy. Attribute point +1. Ling scolded the high-ranking female president. Although he looked expressionless, he was actually secretly happy. Not everyone can reprimand a female CEO. Then, he looked at Wang Chao again and asked, Tell me, how to untie the mechanism tied to Madam's body. This person seemed to know that he was bound to die, and he was still swearing. Ling became angry and was about to step on his arm, when suddenly there was a whooping sound outside the villa. He frowned slightly, retracted his feet, and looked outside the gate. Su Qiuxia led a group of police officers to file in, but the scene in front of her shocked her. The masked kidnappers fell to the ground in disorder, and in the middle of the hall, Xia Fian's whole body was covered with electric wires. On the other side, Mr. Liu and Chairman Liu were all looking at him, but Ling was also there. Almost instinctively, Su Qiuxia asked, Ling, what's going on? Ling smiled slightly. Someone kidnapped. Captain, I helped you solve it. How can you thank me this time? Su Qiuxia was secretly startled. She didn't expect that when she went after Cyclonus' suspicious van, she would catch up with the kidnappers, and it was the wife of the Liu family, Xia Fian. These kidnappers were trolls. No matter how powerful Ling was, she couldn't solve it alone. She guessed that the people under Mr. Liu must have solved it. Mr. Liu's bodyguards are elusive. They are all masters. She frowned and said, Ling, don't mess around, get behind me. Then she said slightly, Old Superior, Xiao Yang doesn't understand the rules. I made you laugh. This matter is originally a matter of our law enforcement team, and I trouble you to do it yourself, and then leave it to us. Upon hearing this, Old Man Liu smiled wryly and said, Captain Su, these robbers were really taken care of by Xiao Yang. Old man, I have some personal matters today, so the guards are on vacation. As soon as this remark came out, everyone was taken aback. Seeing Lu Muhan nodded slightly, Su Qiuxia opened her mouth and stared at Ling with wide eyes. The last time Ling caught the serial robbers, he did a great job for himself, and now he has solved the kidnapper who kidnapped the Liu family, which is a great job. The key is that Ling didn't resign. She was still under her command. So no matter how you look at it, The credit must fall on her. She looked at Ling at a loss, and after holding back for a while, she blushed slightly and said, "You did a good job. Next time I'll treat you to dinner." It's the first time I've seen a girl with such an expression. Ling has been criticized by her before. Seeing this, he smiled and moved closer and said in her ear, "The meal is free. Why don't we make an appointment?" Before the words fell, the soles of the feet hurt, but they were stepped on by the female jerk. Su Qiuxia glared at him, signaling him to shut up. However, there was no sign of anger in this look. On the contrary, there was some resentment and a hint of shyness. "Ding, you crushed Su Qiuxia's wish to treat you to dinner. Attribute point +1. Ling secretly laughed in his heart, teased the beautiful woman for a while, and got an attribute point, really flattering. But he knew that now was not the time to joke, so he said seriously, "Captain, Madam has an induction bomb strapped to her body, which may detonate at any time." Su Qiuxia also found out. She nodded and said, "Everyone, take the kidnappers and leave here immediately, and call the bomb disposal team immediately." Everyone acted immediately after hearing the words. Su Qiuxia said to Mr. Liu, "Old Superior, Mr. Liu, you should leave here first." Mr. Liu glanced at his daughter-in-law and nodded, while Lu Muhan looked at Su Qiuxia, then at Ling and hummed softly, "I want to stay here with Mother." Several people were taken aback when they heard the words. Why did Lu Muhan suddenly play the young lady's temper? At this moment, an electronic sound sounded, and the electromagnetic bomb on the lady's body began to count down, and the time was 10 minutes. In 10 minutes, it is impossible for bomb disposal experts to arrive at the scene. In other words, ma'am is almost a doomsday situation. In the hall, Wang Chao laughed loudly. "Ling, I admit that you are very good. I lost to you today. But this bomb was carefully designed by me. Apart from me, there are not many people in the world who can stop it." Although he looked miserable, he was extremely insolent at the moment. He looked at Lu Muhan suddenly and said, "Muhan, do you still remember? You said you liked Beethoven's Moonlight the most. See that piano? This is my last gift to you. I know you practiced the piano since you were a child, and the bomb will only stop if you play the complete Moonlight song. If you miss a single note, you and Xia Fian will die." "What?" Everyone gasped and looked at the piano, only to find rows of wires extending from the piano. The bomb turned out to be stopped only by the sound of the piano. At this moment, everyone looked at Lu Muhan at the same time. Play it right, and the mother will be rescued. Wrong play, mother and daughter die together. This is the choice of life and death. Of course, she can also choose to turn around and leave, which is the safest option, but I'm afraid she will spend the rest of her life feeling guilty. Xiaofin shook her head vigorously. She hoped that her daughter would leave immediately. Lu Muhan trembled slightly all over her body. She looked at her mother, then at her grandfather. After a moment of silence, she finally walked towards the piano slowly. "Ha, Lu Muhan, you are dead. Who told you to never look at me? Who told you to marry someone else? You mother and daughter will die here together." Wang Chao's crazy laughter resounded in the hall, and Su Qiuxia suddenly came to her senses. At the critical moment, she knew that she could not make a decision for the Lu family. Seeing that Lu Muhan had made up her mind, she waved her hands and said, "Everyone leave the villa." The law enforcement team escorted the robbers to the door silently. Mr. Liu shook his head slightly, signaling that he would not leave. Seeing this, Su Qiuxia could only smile wryly. Mr. Liu sighed softly. "Ling, thank you for today. Leave with Captain Su. If something happens to us, you are entitled to inherit half of the Muhua Group's property." Ling and Lu Muhan are already married, so they do have the qualifications. But he just smiled and didn't answer, but looked at Lu Muhan in front of the piano. The hand of this glamorous woman holding the piano was still trembling slightly. Her face was pale, and there was a faint mist in her eyes. At the moment of life and death, anyone would be afraid. Lu Muhan took deep breaths and tried to calm himself down. He has played this Moonlight song hundreds of times, so it is reasonable to say that he is already proficient. But now, her hands were trembling uncontrollably, and she couldn't calm down at all. Unfortunately, time waits for no one. Mom, I don't have my father, so I can't lose you anymore. My daughter will die with you. Gently, she placed her slender fingers on the keys and slowly closed her eyes. 2 lines of tears slipped quietly. But when she was about to play the first note, suddenly a big warm hand grasped her shoulder as if to pull her up from the abyss. Lu Muhan turned his head to look, but it was a delicate face with a slight smile. Yang Ling, the person who stopped Lu Muhan. Who else could it be if it wasn't Yang Ling? Yang Ling smiled slightly and said, "Let me do it." In just 3 words, each word hit Lu Muhan's heart. She looked at the man in front of her with tears in her eyes. In addition to warmth, there was irresistible confidence and strength from that palm. At this moment, she couldn't hold back the tears any longer and burst out of her eyes. But Yang Ling gently helped her up and pushed her into Su Qiuxia's arms accurately. "Captain Su, take everyone away. Leave this place to me." "But you..." Su Qiuxia wanted to say something, but Yang Ling shook his head and said, "There's no time. Don't you believe me?" Su Qiuxia's whole body was shocked by those few short words. Yes, the young man in front of her gave her too many surprises and surprises. This is a young man who often emerges from desperate situations. This is a man full of enigmatic self-confidence. This is my most trusted subordinate. At this moment, she nodded vigorously and said, "Be careful." He waved his hand and said, "Take Mr. Liu and get out of the villa." Not allowing old man Liu to say anything, 2 police officers picked him up and walked out. Before leaving, the old man looked deeply at Yang Ling and said, "Son, survive." Wang Chao shouted, "Yang Ling, you are looking for death. You are looking for death." And Lu Muhan was already sobbing. She stared at Yang Ling as if she had 1,000 words to say, but she still didn't say anything. In an instant, Yang Ling and Xia Fian were the only ones in the hall. Yang Ling looked at the lady whose face was full of tears and said with a slight smile, "Don't worry, madam, you're fine." Xia Fian stared blankly at the peaceful young man in front of her. She was on a business trip before and didn't know the relationship between Yang Ling and Lu Muhan, so she just nodded instinctively at this moment. She knew that her life was already connected with this boy. After taking a deep breath, the corners of Yang Ling's mouth curled up, and he pressed the notes slowly with his fingers. Ding! Musical instrument proficiency activated. That's right, he dared to replace Lu Muhan's greatest reliance on his proficiency in musical instruments. In addition, he has read a lot of books in Xinhua bookstore, and he has read all Beethoven's famous songs, and he has already mastered the piano score of Moonlight. The fingertips fell, and there was a soft and gentle piano sound. The Moonlight song was created by Beethoven after experiencing emotional setbacks. The tune is beautiful and soft, making people feel like they are in a small boat, rippling on the moonlit lake. Yang Ling's proficiency in musical instruments gave him the strongest piano playing skills in the world. To put it bluntly, even Beethoven might not be able to play as well as him in the rebirth. The beautiful melody rippled like a lake, and everyone who was waiting silently outside the villa stood up at the same time. Under Wang Chao's ferocious face, there was an expression of disbelief. How is this possible? Why can he play the piano? Why can he play so well? But as soon as he finished speaking, his mouth was covered with a rag. Su Qiuxia narrowed her eyes, and the gentle melody calmed her heart. She closed her eyes and listened quietly to the masterpiece of art. Not only her, but everyone else seemed to be infected. All of them looked peaceful, closed their eyes, and listened. Mr. Liu heaved a sigh of relief, looked at the granddaughter beside him, but was slightly taken aback. I saw Lu Muhan's eyes close tightly, tears slowly falling down her face, but in her mouth, she was gently singing the notes, as if she was playing this Moonlight song with Yang Ling. Mr. Liu looked at the sky with a smile on his lips. People outside the wall were immersed in the music, especially Xia Fian. who was watching Yang Ling play up close. She stared at Yang Ling, her heart up and down following Yang Ling's beating fingertips. The feelings that had been dusty for many years, at this critical moment of life and death, are like the moonlight in the lake, gently rippling. I don't know how long it took. It seemed like a moment, and it seemed like a long night slowly. When the sound of the piano stopped, they were still immersed in the wonderful music. When Su Qiuxia came to her senses and rushed into the villa, Yang Ling had already disarmed the bomb and was helping Xia Fian to walk out slowly. "Mom!" Lu Muhan didn't care about other things, rushed up and hugged the pale Xia Fian. Xia Fian couldn't bear it anymore. Mother and daughter hugged their heads and cried. "Ding, you have fulfilled Xia Fian's wish to be rescued, and the wish value is +1. Ding, you have fulfilled the wish of everyone in Lu Muhan that you and concubine Xia can escape safely, and the wish value is +1. Ding, you are satisfied." A series of system prompts sounded, and Yang Ling gained 5 wishing points and 1 attribute point in one go. It really was a worthwhile trip. Su Qiuxia let out a sigh of relief. She looked at Yang Ling and said seriously, "You are the best man I've ever seen." "Oh," Yang Ling smiled and said, "Captain, if this word gets out, I'm afraid I will be besieged by your admirers." "Then are you afraid of being beaten?" As soon as these words came out, Yang Ling was slightly taken aback, and Su Qiuxia was also taken aback and then blushed. Why does this sound like flirting? Seeing that Yang Ling blushed a little, the female Jie Hua stared at him and suddenly burst out laughing. This smile was like a lily blooming. It was really bright and beautiful. Yang Ling was a little dumbfounded. "Cough, cough." Mr. Liu coughed lightly, pulled Yang Ling to his side, and said, "Captain Su, I also want to thank your law enforcement team this time. Ask Xiao Song to call me, and I will tell him the specifics." Su Qiuxia was slightly taken aback. According to what the old man meant, did he want them to leave? She looked at Mr. Liu in surprise, then at Yang Ling and Lu Muhan, who was not far away. She seemed to understand something. Her eyebrows frowned slightly. But since the old man had spoken, she could only nod and said, "Okay, I'll report this in person when I get back. Yang Ling, let's go. Follow me back to the law enforcement team." "It is good." Before Yang Ling could finish his words, the old man laughed and said, "Xiao Ling is our benefactor. I want to thank him well, old man, and I won't go back with you." When he said this, the old man's eyes were obviously twinkling. He has been an upright man all his life, but now he is dragging Yang Ling for his granddaughter's lifelong happiness. I don't know how his old comrades will laugh when they find out. Su Qiuxia couldn't say much when she heard the words. She looked at Yang Ling meaningfully and said, "Call me later. I have something to ask you." "Ah, good." After Yang Ling smiled wryly, he had no choice but to agree. "Ding, you have fulfilled Su Qiuxia's wish. The wish value is +1, and the current progress is 13/10. Sometimes all you need to do to make a girl happy is nod her head, and this is a vivid example." Female J led a group of robbers into the law enforcement vehicle, and Wang Chao could only be carried on a stretcher because both legs were broken by Yang Ling. When passing by, he looked at Yang Ling with resentment, gritted his teeth, and said, "Don't be too happy. As long as I don't die, I will kill you one day. Kill your whole family." Yang Ling looked at him indifferently and said, "There are too many people who want to deal with me. I don't think there is anything special about you, but I don't think we'll see each other again." Wang Chao hated him almost to the bone. He took one last look at Lu Muhan and then at Yang Ling. His eyes were full of arrogance. "You ruined our business. Even if I'm inside, someone outside will deal with you. If you beat a snake, you won't die, but you will suffer from it." The coldness in Yang Ling's eyes was even worse. "If you wanted to kill my whole family, then I would kill you first." Ding! Deduction proficient activation. There was a cold light in Yang Ling's eyes. The moment this person was about to be carried into the law enforcement vehicle, a coin was suddenly shot. After the coin bounced on the ground in a very stealthy route, it happened to hit the calf joint of a police officer carrying a stretcher. The man staggered, and the stretcher turned over on its side. Wang Chao, who lost his ability to move, fell on his back to the ground, and there happened to be a protruding rock. Puff! There was a sound of piercing into the flesh, and the solid stone directly pierced Wang Chao's throat, and blood gushed out all at once. He opened his mouth and covered his throat, turned his head with difficulty to look at the indifferent Yang Ling, and then at the coin that had rolled far away. The hatred in his eyes quickly dimmed, and he swallowed his last breath. The scene was chaotic, but a sneer appeared on the corner of Yang Ling's mouth. The law enforcement vehicle roared away with Wang Chao and the kidnappers. Yang Ling looked away. He knew that Wang Chao was dead. This was the first time he had killed someone, but there was no disturbance in his heart. The murderer was always killed. Besides, as he continued to become stronger, Yang Ling's mentality had undergone a huge change. In his eyes, people like Wang Chao were just an ant. But before this person died, he said that there are still people who will deal with him. It seems that he has an accomplice, and he needs to be careful. After a while, 2 luxury cars came to Lu's house. The old man laughed and said, "Xiao Ling, let's go home." Yang Ling chuckled, walked to the huge machine wrapped in tarpaulin, and pulled it hard, revealing the true face of Lu Shan inside. It was indeed a helicopter. He smiled lightly and said, "Su team left in a hurry. This is considered stolen goods. I'll drive to the law enforcement team." Mr. Lu was taken aback for a moment, then smiled and said, "No need. This helicopter belongs to the company. Since you can drive it, I will give it to you." "What?" Yang Ling was taken aback when he heard the words, and then said in amazement, "Master, this is a new model of Bell 505, and it costs tens of millions." Mr. Lu laughed and said, "You are Mu Han's husband, my grandson-in-law. What is a helicopter? It's rare that you can drive. If you don't accept the old man, you won't be happy." Yang Ling smiled and said, "In that case," the boy thanked the old man. "Ding, you accepted the helicopter and fulfilled Mr. Lu's wish. Wish value +1, current progress, 14 tenths." When the system's words sounded, Yang Ling was slightly taken aback. Earn a helicopter for nothing. And it also comes with wishing value? What is this operation? Mr. Lu was in a good mood, patted Yang Ling on the shoulder, and said, "From now on, just like Mu Han, call me Grandpa." This is completely treating him as his own family. Yang Ling is not an ignorant person. Hearing this, he nodded and said, "Okay, Grandpa." "Ding, you have fulfilled Mr. Lu's wish. The current progress is 15 tenths. The old man laughed even more happily when he heard the words, and greeted, "Fei Yin, Mu Han. Thank you, Xiao Ling, for coming over." The two of them were already much better now. Xiaofian stared at Yang Ling, blushing slightly for some reason, but she was much older after all, so she said softly, "Xiao Ling, thank you." Yang Ling smiled and nodded. "Madam, you are welcome." Then he looked at Lu Mu Han. Although the female president was not crying at the moment, her face was like a cat's. She wanted to say something, but her face... After all, I used to look down on Yang Ling a little bit, but without this man, my mother, and my grandfather would all have to... Yang Ling seemed to see what was going on in her heart, and suddenly took a few steps closer and whispered in Lu Mu Han's ear, "If you can't say it now, you can say it when you go home tonight." "What?" Lu Mu Han heard the implication of these words. Her whole face turned red. She stomped her feet and hummed softly, "You have a good idea. I won't follow you." Before she finished speaking, she saw Yang Ling smiling faintly. She realized that this was to help her resolve her embarrassment. This little man, although Lu Mu Han was still blushing and looking angry, there was a faint curve at the corner of his mouth. When passing by Yang Ling, she said softly, "I'm sorry, and thank you." At this moment, she resumed the appearance of the female president, and then said to the employees who rushed over, "Drive the car with the money back. Let's go back to the company." With that said, he sat on the Rolls-Royce generously. Ding! It was detected that Lu Mu Han's favorability towards you has increased by 100, and the current favorability has changed from -70 to 30. After a while, seeing his daughter-in-law and granddaughter getting into the car, Mr. Lu patted Yang Ling on the shoulder and said, "This helicopter has a flight permit. If you have a pilot's license, I'll help you sign up. I will send someone to bring you the various documents of the helicopter in a while, so you can rest assured." In addition, at 7 o'clock tonight, go home for dinner on time, and we will thank you very much." After seeing Ling nodding, he laughed in satisfaction, waved his hand, and got in the car to leave. Seeing the luxury cars in front of him gradually disappearing from sight, Ling smiled slightly and got on the helicopter. Ding, start driving mastery. The helicopter lifted off slowly and flew straight towards Tianjin Garden. It was the first time to fly a plane. Ling didn't do any tricks, but just drove it smoothly. His mind was already elsewhere at the moment. System, I want to make a wish so that I have the ability to predict danger in advance. Ding, everything in the world has its own destiny, and the host cannot see the future. The system only allows you to have a keen perception. Ling smiled wryly in his heart. Sure enough, he couldn't predict the future, and his insensitive perception ability was not bad. He nodded and said, "Okay, let's do this." Ding, the wish is successful. The host has acquired the skill. Range perception, range awareness, passive skill. The host can predict the danger within a radius of 1 kilometer 3 seconds in advance. Ding, the host gains 1 point of charm. Not bad. Ling smiled slightly, and then added the 4 free attribute points he had obtained to his spiritual power. His panel changes again. Power, 18. Agility, 20. Stamina, 15. Mental power, 16. Charm, 5. Wish value, 5 out of 10. After doing all this, his cell phone rang, and it was Chu Xin calling. Ling, where are you?" Ling was taken aback for a moment, then smiled and said, "I'm in the sky." "Heaven." A giggling voice came from the other end of the phone. "Are you spiraling into heaven?" "Okay, I'm not joking with you. The live broadcast was very effective last night. I have something to tell you. The Starbucks in Wanya Plaza is waiting for you." "I really seem to be spiraling up to heaven?" Ling touched his nose and said, "Can't we talk about something on the phone?" Before she finished speaking, Chu Xin had already hung up. He smiled wryly, looked at the time as still early, so let's go. Then turned the nose and flew towards Wanya Plaza. Coincidentally, this Wanya Plaza happened to be the property of Lu's family, and there was an open-air football field nearby. There would be no one playing football, so Ling directly parked the helicopter on the field. Seeing that it was their own company's helicopter, the stadium managers didn't dare to ask more questions. A while later, Ling came to the main entrance of Wanya Plaza, and indeed saw Chu Xin, but she seemed to have had an argument with someone. A young man with eyes and wearing a suit looked at Chu Xin and said with a sneer, "Xin, the contract is clearly written in black and white. You signed a 5-year contract with the company. If you say you regret it, you will regret it." Chu Xin snorted softly. "It was signed by my parents, not me. If you want to find it, go to them." Next to the man, a sexy woman dressed stylishly and wearing sunglasses sneered, "Look for them. Where can we find them after they go to Maple Leaf Country? Don't you want to be a star? What do you want after signing a contract with the company? The young master is still interested in you. What can you refuse?" Chu Xin looked at this sexy girl and said with disdain, "I really want to be a star, but not a star like you who drinks and sleeps with people. Don't think that I don't know what you guys want to do. I can't afford to pay myself for the false name of a 3rd-tier or even 4th-tier star." "You." The sexy woman was furious, but the man said in a strange way, "So you don't want to? Liquidated damages of 500 million. If you can't pay it, don't blame us for using force." As soon as he finished speaking, 2 big men rushed out of the van behind him. It was afternoon at this moment, and there was no one in the square, and the remaining onlookers all walked away after seeing this. Chu Xin's face turned pale all of a sudden, and she stepped back quietly. The man snorted coldly. "The young master wants to see her. Take him into the car." The 2 big men rushed towards Chu Xin on the spot, but at this moment, 2 stones arrived first and hit their hands accurately. Not far away, a young man in ordinary clothes slowly walked over, and Chu Xin shouted in surprise when she saw it. "Ling, Ding, you fulfilled Chu Xin's wish to be rescued, and the wish value is +1. Ling nodded slightly. After walking closer, he looked at the people in front of him lightly and said, "Aren't you too blatant in broad daylight?" After the young man and the sexy girl looked Yang Ling up and down, they all showed disdain. The sexy girl sneered, "So you're a bitch. Don't meddle in your own business. Get out." Yang Ling wasn't angry either, and said calmly, "If I'm not mistaken, you should be the third-rate actress named Gu Pailan from Orange Heart Entertainment. The one next to me seems to be some kind of manager Qin Hongba. Sorry, Xin has an appointment with me. Please come back." Qin Hongba sneered and said, "Poor ghost. You don't even have a car, so you still follow others to chase girls? Chu Xin is a signed artist of our company. You have nothing to do here. If you're sensible, get lost." Yang Ling sneered and said, "An artist from your company? As far as I know, as long as the contract is not signed by myself, it is invalid. Just now, I heard from Xin that her contract was signed by her parents. Why is this someone from your company? You." The two were furious when they heard the words, but what Yang Ling said was well-founded. There was no way to refute it. Standing behind Yang Ling, Chu Xin felt a sense of security in her heart. "Ding, you smashed the fallacy of Gu Pailan and Qin Hongba. Attribute point +1. Seeing that the people on the opposite side were all speechless, Yang Ling sneered, and then said to Chu Xin, who was behind him, "Go, I'll take you home." "Okay." Chu Xin nodded vigorously, grabbed Yang Ling's sleeve, and followed obediently. "Walk," Qin Hongba said coldly. "Your name is Yang Ling, right? Can you handle this? Chu Xin is the person my young master nominates. Do you want to live?" Yang Ling didn't bother to talk to these people at all, and pulled Chu Xin straight to the football field. Gopailan said angrily, "You're just a stinky dick. Why are you pretending to be cowardly? What are you still doing, call me?" The two big guys were about to make a move, but they were stopped by Qin Hongba. He said coldly, "There are too many people here, so don't make a move. This scumbag dares to act aggressive without a car. There are plenty of places around to do it, just follow them." These two people spoke without lowering their voices at all, as if they had settled for them. There was also a stinky dick on the left and a stinky dick on the right screaming. Yang Ling treated them like flies, but Chu Xin couldn't help it. She yelled softly, "Keep your mouths clean. A Ling is poor, but all his money is clean money earned by himself. One of you is doing illegal activities, and the other is making a watch and setting up a memorial archway. No matter how much money you make, it stinks." This girl turned out to be extremely tough. Gopailan sneered and said, "Have you never heard the saying that laughing at the poor, but not laughing at the prostitute? Poor is poor. What is noble here? This poor guy can't even afford me a lipstick with all his belongings? How can he still laugh at me here? He needs a car, and you left 2 mornings. So what's the point of talking to me about nobleness here? You, sometimes the society is very realistic." And Chu Xin blushed with anger. "Even if I ride Xiaoling's bicycle, I don't want to ride on that person's Mercedes. A dead duck has a tough mouth." Qin Hongba sneered and said, "What do you think your future will be in live broadcasting? Don't you know the young master's energy in the esports circle and the live broadcast world? If he says a word, your live broadcast room will be blocked immediately. I advise you to follow the young master honestly, and don't regret begging for food after following this poor man." Chu Xin gritted her teeth, but she knew that all of this might come true. Even if the live broadcast room was blocked, it would even implicate Yang Ling. That person has to be serious. I'm afraid there are not many companies in the entire S-City who dare to accept Yang Ling. For the first time, her heart was shaken. Yang Ling always looked calm, and he said lightly, "You all have a young master. Don't you know who this is?" Gu Pailan said with a little pride, "My young master is the young director of Feiyang Group, Gao Xiaohao." Gao Xiaohao. When Yang Ling heard this, he suddenly realized that this person was from City H next door. He was in the same circle as Tian Juyin and the rich second generation, and his energy was much greater than Tian Juiyin's. Because he is mainly engaged in the entertainment industry, he can be regarded as the #1 figure in the entertainment industry. However, in the eyes of Yang Ling now, this kind of person was just an ant, at best a stronger ant. He glanced at the two of them, with a half-smile on the corner of his mouth, and walked forward calmly. Chu Xin beside her fell into silence. She looked at Yang Ling with a lot of trouble in her heart. For himself, this big boy might destroy the future of the rest of his life, which made her very uneasy. The stadium is not far from Wanya Plaza, and there are no people there at the moment. Seeing Yang Ling coming here, Qin Hongba sneered, "There's only one exit here." "What? Figure it out? Don't run away." After Yang Ling glanced at the two of them indifferently, he said calmly, "Run? Just because you are worthy of letting me run. In my eyes, you are nothing more than two dogs. Dogs bark at people, but can people bark at dogs?" "What did you say?" The two were furious, and Qin Hongba said angrily, "Go to me, hit this kid hard." The two big men rushed up on the spot when they heard the words. "Ding, Tai Jiquan is proficient." Yang Ling sneered, and after only meeting each other, the two big men lay motionless on the ground on the spot. Startled, the eyeballs of Qin Hongba and Gu Pailin almost popped out. These two are bodyguards next to the young master. They were specially assigned this time, but unexpectedly, they were instantly killed. Chu Xiyin's small mouth opened into an O shape, and she looked at Yang Ling with a dumbfounded look. Yang Ling clapped his hands indifferently, as if he had done a trivial matter, and pulled Chu Xiyin towards the helicopter not far away. Until now, several people discovered that a private helicopter was parked in the empty stadium. Standing in front of the helicopter, Chu Xiyin said anxiously, "Xiao Ling, this is someone else's property, we?" Before he finished speaking, Yang Ling took out a sensor key from his pocket and pressed it naturally. With just a beep, the helicopter's hatch opened on the spot. "What?" Chu Xiyin's eyes widened, and Qin Hongba and Gu Pailin, who were not far away, were so shocked that their jaws almost dislocated. Chu Xiyin stammered and said, "Xiao Ling, is this plane yours?" Yang Ling smiled lightly and said, "That's right, someone gave it to me. Come on, I'll take you home." Chu Xiyin was stunned. "Someone sent you a helicopter? Aren't you kidding me?" Yang Ling smiled and shook his head. "Do you think I'm joking? What happened now, is beyond the understanding of this beautiful anchor. Yang Ling, who looks like a poor boy, actually owns a helicopter." And Qin Hongba and Gu Pailin were full of disbelief. "My young master can be regarded as an awesome character, but when he goes out, he is a beautiful woman with a luxury car. But this kid actually drives a helicopter to come on a date. Is this him too exaggerated?" Thinking of the people who can own this kind of private jet, they are all extraordinary existences, and they must not be able to provoke them. The two of them trembled slightly. Suddenly, Qin Hongba seemed to have discovered something. He laughed loudly and said, "This plane belongs to Muhua Group, right? Your kid is probably a helicopter pilot. Why are you pretending to be a wolf with a big tail here?" As soon as this remark came out, several people were taken aback for a moment, and Gu Pailin also reacted and said mockingly, "Yo, so it's a driver. Those who don't know think you are the young master of which family? Is it someone else's gift? Are you shameless?" Lu Muhan's brain is broken, so he will send you a helicopter. Yang Ling's expression turned cold. He didn't have the same knowledge as them. These two people are still going on. Just when he was about to teach the couple a lesson, Chu Xiyin, who was beside him, suddenly tugged at his sleeve and said with a wry smile, "Xiao Ling, I know you are doing my best, but this is my own business. I don't want to cause you to lose your job. I'll go back with them. I don't believe what they will do to me." Yang Ling frowned slightly when he heard this, but at this moment, two Mercedes-Benz drove by at the gate of the stadium. The black Mercedes headed straight for the helicopter. After the car came to a complete stop, four men in suits got out. As soon as Qin Hongba saw the person coming, he guessed it. He sneered and said, "It's Yin Xing from the Muhua Group's security department. This is one of the top managers of the Muhua Group. Why did you come out in person?" Gu Pailin sneered, "I think this kid secretly drove out the group's helicopter in order to pretend to be aggressive. This time, there's a good show to watch." Yanxing walked up to Yang Ling with a serious face. The two were planning to watch Yang Ling be taught a lesson, but what happened next almost made them spit out blood. Yanxing bowed respectfully and said, "Hello, Mr. Yang." Several people behind him shouted in unison, "Hello, Mr. Yang." Silence, deathly silence. Qin Hongba and Gu Pailin had expressions of disbelief. Yin Xing was the director of the safety department of Muhua Group and one of the real senior management of the group, but in front of Yang Ling, he was extremely respectful. Gu Pailan instinctively took a few steps back and said in a trembling voice, "How is it possible? How could this stinky scumbag be the boss of Muhua Group? He made a mistake. He must have made a mistake. Stinky dick." Yin Xing's complexion sank, and he slapped the third-tier star on the ground. He said coldly, "Gu Pailan, who do you think you are? It's just Gao Xiaohao's mistress. You dare to insult Mr. Yang. Believe it or not, I will have your mouth torn apart." This slap was not light, and it woke up the woman completely. She looked at Yin Xing, who had a bad look, and then at Yang Ling, who had a calm expression. After her whole body trembled, she suddenly knelt down and cried, "Yang, Mr. Yang, I was wrong. I really didn't know that you were an executive of the Muhua Group. If I knew, I wouldn't dare to offend you even if I had 10 guts. My dog's eyes see people as inferior. You adults don't remember the faults of villains. Please let me go this time." This woman knew very well that the Muhua Group was far from being as simple as it appeared on the surface. The water behind it was so deep that it made one's spine chill, not to mention her third-tier star. Even Gao Xiaohao would not dare to easily offend members of the Muhua Group. As long as the Muhua Group is willing, they will be completely banned if they create any scandals. She is scared now, really scared. Yang Ling glanced at her indifferently, then looked at Qin Hongbo again, with a calm expression, without saying a word. Yin Xing can achieve this position. In addition to his ability, he also has good eyesight. Who is Yang Ling? He is the benefactor who saved the old man, his wife, and the chairman. And he is also the husband of the chairman. Although the master is silent now, Yin Xing, as a subordinate, cannot do nothing. He slapped Qin Hongbo again and shouted angrily, "What's the matter? You Feiyang people want to make trouble with our Muhua Group. Who gave you the guts to talk to Mr. Yang like that?" Qin Hongbo sat slumped on the ground, staring at Yang Ling in a daze. He knew that he had fallen this time. From the moment Yin Xing called Yang Ling Mr. Yang, Chu Xin's mouth never closed, and her brain was in a semi-shut-down state. At this moment, she finally came back to her senses and glanced at the two people on the ground. These two big men in her eyes were honest at the moment, not even daring to breathe. In addition to being shocked by Yang Ling's identity, she was also very happy. She turned her head to look at Yang Ling, and the young man beside her looked indifferent, as if this kind of thing was just a trivial matter to him. "He's so handsome." A thought suddenly came to Chu Xin's mind, and she blushed immediately. But her little hand holding Yang Ling's sleeve became tighter and tighter. "Ding, you fulfilled Chu Xin's wish not to return to the entertainment company. Wish value +1. Current progress, 7 out of 10. Ding, you smashed Qin Hongbo and Gu Pailan's wish to mock you. Attribute point +1. Ding, you smashed Qin Hongbo, Gu Pailan's wish to take Chu Xin away. Attribute point +1. The corner of Yang Ling's mouth curled up slightly, and he said to Yin Xing, "Director Yin, you are just two scumbags. Beating them will only dirty your hands. What's wrong with you coming to see me?" Upon hearing this, Yin Xing took the briefcase from his subordinate and said, "Mr. Yang, these are some documents for the helicopter. The old man asked me to send them to you. Would you like to take a look?" Yang Ling smiled lightly. "You don't need to look at it, but there is one thing I have to remind you." Mr. Yang, tell me." Yang Ling smiled slightly. "I'm not from your company yet. Don't call me Mr. Yang. In addition, I have to consider whether to work in your company." As soon as this statement came out, everyone in the field was stunned. Whether it was Chu Xin or Gu Pailan on the ground, their eyes widened. What is the identity of the executives of the Muhua Group? There are people with real talents and real learning in the society who want to rub their heads in it, but this master actually wants to think about it. This is too strong. Yin Xing laughed when he heard the words. What the young master said is that, based on your relationship with the old man and the young lady, it makes no difference whether you come to work or not. This person changed his mind very quickly, directly changing from Mr. Yang to young master. Chu Xin was taken aback when she heard this, but Gu Pailan and the two of them were going crazy. When he came to work, he was Mr. Yang, but if he didn't go to work, he was a class higher, and he became the young master directly. What kind of existence is this guy? Yang Ling glanced at Yin Xing in surprise. This person called Lu Muhan the eldest lady instead of the chairman, and also knew his relationship with the Lu family, so it seemed that he should be a confidant. And this person is so enthusiastic, needless to say, he is naturally flattering. He took the briefcase, shook his head with a smile, and said, "Call it whatever you want." As he said, he patted Yin Xing's shoulder, smiled slightly, and said, "I'm going to leave first if there's nothing else, and you all go to your own business." Don't underestimate the 2 slaps on the shoulders. Yin Xing felt very happy. This meant that Yang Ling understood what he meant by leaning on him. If he could really lean on this thick leg, he would definitely be able to make further progress in the future. Even being able to serve as the general manager of a subsidiary is unknown. He became more and more respectful, and hurriedly said, "Master, the old man called you to have dinner tonight. This is a family banquet, and your parents are also invited. Don't forget." "Okay, I'll go." "Ding, you have fulfilled Yin Xing's desire to hug thighs. Wish value +1 current progress. 8 out of 10. That's okay, too." The corner of Yang Ling's mouth curled up, and after looking at the dumbfounded Gu Pailin and the 2, he pulled Chu Xin, who was still in a daze, and launched the helicopter and slowly lifted off. On the ground, Yin Xing was so excited that he wanted to laugh 3 times, but considering his image, he held back. Then he looked at the 2 people on the ground and the 2 strong men who had been knocked out by Yang Ling, and said with a smirk, "What are you 2? You dare to offend my young master. Are you still asking someone to do it? Today I want to let you all know my Yin Xing's method. Get these scumbags into the car." Needless to say, it will definitely be miserable for Gu Pailin and the others. Sitting on the helicopter, Chu Xin, who was originally carefree, looked like a little daughter-in-law at the moment. Yang Ling looked at her with some amusement and said, "Didn't you have something to do with me?" Chu Xin whispered, "I didn't know you were such a powerful person. I'm afraid you don't care about these things now." Yang Ling was taken aback when he heard the words. "How would I know if you didn't tell me?" Chu Xin looked at him curiously and said, "The team leader of the PT club contacted me this morning, hoping to meet you. But in your capacity, you shouldn't be playing professionally, right?" "My identity?" Yang Ling smiled lightly. "I'm almost unemployed. What status can I have?" You reply to him and make an appointment to meet him. A smile appeared on Chu Xin's face, and after she nodded vigorously, she suddenly asked seriously, "Xiao Ling, you are so outstanding. Do you really have no girlfriend?" Yang Ling looked at her suspiciously and said, "What? Are you interested in me? TCH, there are so many people chasing this girl." Chu Xin blushed and said, "But if you want to chase me, I can reluctantly consider it." Yang Ling laughed and said, "Okay, then I'll think about it too." While the 2 were talking, the helicopter had already arrived on the roof of Tianxin Garden. As a relatively high-end community, the roof has a special parking spot for helicopters and is equipped with elevators. After Chu Xin jumped off the plane, she turned her head and looked at Yang Ling with a blushing face, and suddenly stepped forward, her red lips tapped lightly on Yang Ling's face. She lowered her head and said, "Thank you today." With that said, he turned around and ran quickly to the elevator. Yang Ling was a little dazed, touched his cheek, then shook his head with a chuckle. Back in the helicopter, he began to assign attributes directly. Now he has 3 free attribute points. Without any hesitation, he directly added 2 points of strength and 1 point of stamina. As a result, his strength and agility have reached 20 points, his physical strength and spirit are both 16 points, and Seaway is developing like a square. With 20 points of strength, his strength is twice as strong as that of a normal man in his prime. He estimates that his strength is now about the same as that of an ordinary weightlifter, but it may be a little worse than those world's top devil muscular men. Ding! It is detected that one of the host's attributes has reached dash points, and the random reward is being drawn. Ding! Congratulations to the host for acquiring the skill. Great strength. Vigorous art. After activation, the power instantly increases by 100%. The duration is 10 seconds, and the cooling time is 24 hours. Yang Ling chuckled. This skill is good. The power doubles within 10 seconds, and with 40 points of power, a few punches might kill the big scalper. Nodding contentedly, he opened the briefcase sent by Yin Xing. In addition to some documents of the helicopter, there's also a business card. Since this Yin Xing desperately wants to rely on him, it is not impossible to accept him as a younger brother. At this moment, the sky has completely darkened, and it is always unsafe to fly a helicopter at night, and it is too ostentatious. There was still a little time. After he got off the elevator, he stopped taking a taxi and simply walked towards the Chu family's villa in a leisurely manner. Long Wangshan Villa area has beautiful scenery, surrounded by mountains and rivers. It is really a treasured place of geomantic omen. As the most high-end villa area in S City, there are only 18 villas in total, and even the rich may not be able to buy them. Those who can live in are the real high-level people in society. There is no doubt that the Liu family is a big family in S City, and even in the whole of Jiangnan. The No-and villas in the villa area belong to the Liu family's property. Mr. Liu lived in Villa No-, while Villa No- belonged to Liu Muhan, mother and daughter. The decoration of Liu Muhan's villa is elegant and indifferent, in line with the temperament of the owner. At this moment, many people have come to the huge living room. The Liu family's relatives and some close partners in S City basically arrived, and they said they were inviting Yang Ling to dinner, but it was actually a family feast. The people attending the family dinner were all wearing expensive clothes, holding wine glasses, and chatting with the people around them. The atmosphere was very harmonious, but there were two people who seemed out of place. Yang Jianjun and Wang Yueju were picked up by Mr. Liu's butler. As Yang Ling's parents, they were naturally qualified to attend such a banquet. But the two of them are ordinary people. When have they ever seen such a scene? At first, it was okay to have Mr. Liu accompany them and say a few words, but when Mr. Liu suddenly left for something, they immediately restrained themselves. The two of them were neither sitting nor standing, and they didn't even dare to eat some fruit on the table. They were dressed in common people's clothes. Although the high-level people here knew that they were Yang Ling's parents, no one came up to talk to them. From the eyes of these people, one can see the sense of superiority from the bottom of their bones, as well as the deep disdain. Wang Yueju gently pulled Yang Jianjun's corner and said, "His father, why hasn't Xiao Ling come? Shall we go back?" Yang Jianjun gave her a blank look and said, "What do you know? Xiao Ling is the protagonist tonight, and of course he has to appear last. Let's just stay honest and don't embarrass Xiaoling." "Ah, good." Wang Yueju sighed lightly, nodded, and stopped talking. At this time, the ladies not far away seemed to have heard their conversation, and they all laughed. One of the ladies in a red dress came over and said with a smile, "You too. Are you the parents of that Yangling? On an occasion like tonight, don't you think it's impolite for you to wear civilian work clothes?" Another lady giggled and said, "Sister Yurong, don't say that. They can't afford a decent dress with a year's salary. You are embarrassing them." As soon as this remark came out, a group of noble ladies laughed coquettishly, which attracted many people's eyes to look here. Yang Ling's parents blushed instantly, but they were ordinary people. How could they dare to speak back on such an occasion? The lady in red, Zhuang Yurong, pretended to be a slip of the tongue, covered her mouth, and said, "Oh, I forgot that you are low-income people. Well, I'll give you that shit. Why don't you go buy a decent dress and come back?" The ladies laughed again, the contempt in their eyes almost overflowing. One of the ladies laughed and said, "It's the male lead. What qualifications does a person like your son have to be a leading actor?" Someone immediately interjected, "That's right. I heard that Yang Ling is only able to fight a little. He has no money to ask for, and his grades are poor. I don't know what the old man is thinking. He even specially invited such a person." "That's right. Who doesn't know that Sister Yuerong's son, Jiehua, is the only leading actor no matter where he goes? You two are really shameless." "That's right. Even Muhan looks at Jiehua differently. Your son Lazy Toad also wants to eat swan meat? Don't go back and look in the mirror." Zhuang Yuerong shook the goblin in her hand and said with a contemptuous smile, "You heard me. This is not a place where people like you can come. Which one of you has money on you? Give them -yuan each and send them away, old man. I will talk about it. Immediately, a lady threw a bank card on the ground and said, Here, there's 15 in it, which is used to buy clothes for you. Let's go. Don't embarrass yourself here. Angry, Yang Jianjun only felt a surge of blood rushing straight to his forehead. This is humiliation, the humiliation of using Qian Chiguoguo. He clenched his fists so hard that his teeth were almost broken, but he knew he couldn't leave. Once he left, Yang Ling's temper would definitely cause him to fall out with the Liu family. This is the Liu family, it's no joke. Wang Yueju's face was even paler, with tears in her eyes. The movement here naturally attracted the attention of the surroundings, and many people gathered around. After learning the whole story, not many people sympathized with Yang Jianjun and the two, but showed contempt. This is a banquet for the upper-class people. In the eyes of these people, these two ordinary people are not qualified to come to this place. Yanxing was also here, but he participated as a staff member. As one of the few people who knew Yang Ling's true identity and strength, he didn't join in, and it was useless. Instead, he had already filmed all of this. The video was sent to Yang Ling segment by segment. In the arena, seeing Yang Jianjun and his wife remained motionless, Zhuang Yuerong sneered and said, Why? Too little? She said loudly, Which one of you still brings money? Give it to them, and it will be charged to my account then. Zhuang Yuerong is the eldest daughter of Mrs. Liu's family, so she is relatively close to the Liu family, considering Liu Muhan and her son Jiahua are cousins. In addition to this, Zhuang Yuerong's husband runs a real estate company with a family fortune of more than 1 billion, so her words still carry a lot of weight. When everyone heard this, someone immediately threw a bank card on the ground and said with a sneer, It contains -yuan, take it and spend it. Someone took the lead, and everyone threw out their bank cards one after another. Whether it was words or actions, they all mocked Yang Jianjun and the other two. Zhuang Yuerong looked at all this with a sneer and said, Is this enough? You must be self-aware to be a human being. Your Yang Ling is a toad. This lowly animal should stay in the sewer forever. How can you get your hands on the noble swan? Even staying together is a blasphemy against swans. Do you understand? Her voice gradually became harsher. Get out of here with the money. Yang Jianjun stood up suddenly. His eyes were bloodshot, and he shouted angrily, My little Ling is not a leprosy. Before the words were finished, suddenly there was an explosion at the door. Boom! The gate of the villa flew in directly, knocking down a table and chairs. Everyone was shocked and looked towards the door, only to see a boy in ordinary clothes with cold eyes standing there. Yang Ling. Everyone was gasping for breath. The gate of the villa, which weighed several hundred pounds, was kicked away. What a lot of strength! The entire hall was silent, and Yang Ling's cold gaze swept across the audience. When he saw the red-eyed parents and the pile of bank cards on the ground, the anger in his heart reached the extreme. He walked in slowly, and from the moment he appeared, a cold, murderous aura pervaded the air, and everyone was instinctively afraid, and no one dared to stop him along the way, not even looking at each other. Walking to his parents, Yang Ling cast a cold glance at Zhuang Yuerong, then suddenly stretched out his hand and pushed Yang Jianjun, who had stood up on the seat. Dad, you could just sit down. I'll take care of the matter here. Yang Jianjun's eyes were a little moist, and at the most critical moment, his son finally appeared. When your son grows up, leave everything to him. Yang Jianjun nodded and sat down slowly. Ding, you have fulfilled your parents' wish. Wish value +1. Current progress. 8/10, smiling at the second elder. Yang Ling's face completely sank. His cold eyes swept over everyone again, and he said slowly, Who threw the bank card? Stand up. Silent. Under the oppression of Yang Ling's aura, none of the so-called upper-class people here dared to speak. Zhuang Yuerong looked around. Yang Ling's appearance was so shocking that everyone was shocked. As the instigator of this incident, she knew that she couldn't be cowardly. After taking a deep breath, she sneered and said, You are Yang Ling? I asked him to throw it. How? Crack. There was a sound of glass shattering, and Yang Ling slapped the goblet in the woman's hand directly on her face. After the heart-piercing screams, red wine and blood spilled all over the floor, and the woman fell to the ground and screamed, Ling, you dare to hit me, I want. Before the words finished, Ling stomped on her arm, and there was the sound of bones breaking. In the severe pain, the woman groaned and fainted on the spot past. Ding! You smashed Zhuang Yuerong's wish to mock your parents. Attribute point +1. Hiss! There is a sound of gasping for air in the field. No one thought that this young man was so tough that he would immediately strike at the slightest disagreement. Some people were filled with righteous indignation, but when they thought of Yang Lin being able to kick open the door of the villa, they dared not speak out in front of such absolute strength. Yang Ling scanned the audience and said indifferently, Who else? Stand up. There was no sound again, and many people's calves were trembling under the pressure of the terrifying murderous aura. At this time, the first man who threw out his bank card couldn't bear the pressure and was about to leave. Run! Yang Ling sneered and threw a red wine bottle directly on the back of this man's forehead. The man screamed on the spot and fell to the ground, bleeding a lot. Ding! You shattered this person's desire to escape. Attribute value +1, the second one. Yang Ling's voice became colder and colder. Several security guards wanted to rush up to stop him, but Yin Xing stopped him. He shook his head, signaling not to act rashly. Seeing the silence of the audience, Yang Ling sneered and said, Didn't you just call me a toad? Why don't you swans even dare to fart? Let me just say it bluntly. Those who threw the bank card just now, and those who mock my parents, one counts as the other. Kneel down and apologize to me. Otherwise, no one will even think about walking out of this door. These words were full of murderous intent, and everyone felt terrified when they heard the words. Yang Ling's actions were too domineering and could even be described as unreasonable, but they dared not speak out. Wang Yueju whispered, Ling, forget it. We have nothing. Yang Ling shook his head slightly at his mother and said, Mom, we don't cause trouble, but we are not afraid of trouble. What did these people do to you just now? I want them to repay you twice. Wang Yueju is a woman from Taoist family. Upon hearing this, she just nodded her head and stopped talking. Yang Ling withdrew his gaze and said coldly, Since you don't realize it, don't blame me. He made a sudden move and slapped a lady on the face. With a sound, he was directly thrown to the ground. A few teeth burst out. Half of Lao Gao's cheek was swollen, and he passed out on the spot without saying a word. Looking at it like this, it's going to be disfigured. Yang Ling sneered and said, I'm not a gentleman. Don't blame me for being cruel and merciless. Anyone who dares to step on my family's head, no matter who it is, no matter whether it's a man or a woman, I will make you pay the price. Who else threw the bank card? Stand up for me. The voice was so harsh that several timid ones fell to the ground on the spot, and one even peed out of fear. Facing Yang Ling like this, almost everyone's heart was broken. Seeing that no one stood up, Yang Ling looked coldly at a noble lady not far away. Seeing this, the woman turned pale with fright. Thinking of the tragic situation of Zhuang Yuerong and the other person, her whole body trembled nonstop. Yang Ling sneered, walked a few steps and said, Are you going to kneel down and apologize? Or do you want to have plastic surgery? I kneel. The woman's legs softened, and she actually knelt down in front of Yang Ling. It's not me. It's my parents. The noble lady was yelled at by Yang Ling, feeling humiliated and fear mixed together, and she fainted directly to the ground. Humph! Yang Ling snorted coldly. His eyes swept across the crowd. Everyone he saw was terrified and trembling. Finally, his eyes fixed on a middle-aged, obese man, and the fat man's face turned pale immediately. Yang Ling was already furious, and without talking nonsense, he directly picked up his 200-gene body with one hand, threw it in front of his parents, and shouted, Kneel down for me, and kowtow to apologize. Fat, his whole body was frightened and limp again, and he couldn't even get up. Seeing this, Yang Ling became even more furious and kicked the fat man on the pig's head. The man screamed and fell into a coma on the spot. The audience was silent, And for the first time, they felt so helpless that in the face of absolute power. What can I do if I have money? Can only be at the mercy of others. Yang Ling could kick open the gate of Lu's villa with one kick, but the gate of his own house would definitely not be able to withstand such a strange force. This young man holds a grudge so much. In other words, if he doesn't explain this matter clearly today, he might not be able to feel at ease in the future. Who here is not a human being? Mr. Lu must have known about such a big incident, but he has not come out to stop it for a long time. How could these people not know the deep meaning of this? He made it clear that he would wait for Yang Ling to vent his anger before showing up again. In other words, between their relatives and Yang Ling, the old man chose Yang Ling. After thinking about this, everyone couldn't help but look at Zhuang Yuerong, who had passed out. If these women hadn't offended Yang Ling's parents because of that bad guy, Jia Hua, things wouldn't have come to this point. A man in a suit with eyes came out first, bowed slightly to Yang Ling, and said, "Young Master Yang, I'm sorry, we did something wrong." Seeing that Yang Ling was expressionless, he gave a wry smile, then bowed to Yang Ling's parents and said, "I'm sorry, Brother Yang, Sister-in-law Yang. My little brother Fang Yu will accompany you. I will definitely set up a table of apology, wine some other day." At this point, Yang Ling's parents basically calmed down, but they were all honest people, and they were at a loss for a long time in the face of such a situation. They just looked at Yang Ling and waited for their son's opinion. Humph! Yang Ling snorted. Although he didn't speak, he still accepted the person's apology. He still understands the truth that everything goes too far. Here he suppressed the arrogance of this group of people with the fury of thunder. There are two main reasons for this. The first is to vent your anger for your parents. Second, it sent a clear signal that he, Yang Ling, was definitely not a door-to-door son-in-law who would be bullied. Obviously, he had achieved his goal, because someone took the lead in apologizing, and the relatives and friends of the Lu family started to apologize to his parents one after another, with completely opposite expressions from before. There are all kinds of people who apologize, show kindness, and please. The two elders were despised and ridiculed from the beginning, and suddenly became the center of the audience. Surrounded by people, Yang Jianjun's face was full of red, and his mood has changed drastically. He is very proud at the moment, proud that he is such a good son. Yang Ling also realized the benefits of strength again. Only with strength can people fear you and then respect you. If Yang Ling didn't have strength, he should be the one who was trampled underfoot today. From then on, he would never even think about raising his head in Lu's house. Ding, you have fulfilled your parents' wish for dignity. The wish value is +1, and the current progress is 9/10. Ding, you have crushed everyone's desire to trample you down. Attribute point +1. Yang Ling's face turned up, and he regained that calm and indifferent state again. After everyone felt Yang Ling's invisible pressure dissipate, they finally breathed a sigh of relief. Yin Xing was the happiest person at the moment. He smiled at the security guard beside him and said, "I told you a long time ago that you should follow the right person with your eldest brother. I have a good vision. Young Master Yang is so powerful. Why are we afraid that we won't succeed when we follow him? Go, take those fainted scumbags away and send them to the hospital." Judging by his expression, he also looks like a loyal dogleg. The security guards looked at each other, as if they were thinking of the days when they would follow Yang Ling to pretend to be a tiger, and each of them stepped forward to lift them up with smiles on their faces, and yelled, fearing that Yang Ling would not see him. Yang Ling naturally saw all this in his eyes. He walked up to Yin Xing, patted him on the shoulder, and said, "Thank you for your hard work. You did a great job." Yang Ling's charisma includes charisma, which may not be useful for a goddess like Lu Muhan, but it's a different story for Yin Xing. I saw Yin Xing's whole body trembled, and he said a little excitedly, "Young Master Yang won the award? This is what should be done." Yang Ling smiled faintly, and just as I was about to say something to win people's hearts, my eyes suddenly moved, and I looked at B's gate. I saw a group of people walking over there. Mr. Lu took the lead, followed by Lu Muhan in a pure white dress. Behind Lu Muhan is a group of young people, both men and women, but all of them are wearing formal clothes, and a few young women are very beautiful. They are definitely beauties outside. But in front of Lu Muhan, they seemed a little overshadowed. Almost everyone's eyes were on Lu Muhan. Even Yang Ling was a little dumbfounded. There's only one thought in everyone's mind. The fairy descends to earth. The arrival of Mr. Lu made the scene quiet. Several noble ladies who had been hiding before saw the old man, as if they had seen a savior, and trotted over. One of them screamed, "Master, Yang Ling beat people in public. You have to make the decision." "The master," Mr. Lu sneered and said, "Without Ling, I'm already dead, old man. Let me tell you, from now on, Ling is a member of my Lu family. He is a direct descendant of the Lu family. Why do you think I should decide for you?" As soon as this remark came out, the lady was stunned, and everyone in the audience was stunned. They knew that the old man was partial to Yang Ling, but if such a big incident happened, in order to appease people's hearts, they should at least say a few words to Yang Ling, right? It's okay to blame a few times, right? But what I didn't expect was that the old man came to confess his relatives on the spot and bluntly said that Yang Ling was from the Lu family, and he was still a direct descendant. Isn't that the same as Lu Muhan? Everyone's eyes would pop out when they heard this. They didn't know the relationship between Yang Ling and Lu Muhan, but they knew that the old man was a person who valued the most kindness. These words were both unexpected and reasonable. The way everyone looked at Yang Ling changed again. If it was fear before, it now seems to be flattering. Everyone's eyes were on him, but at this moment, Yang Ling smiled slightly and said, "The old man's words are serious. After all, my surname is Yang. In the future, the two families will move in. I need the old man and the elders to take care of me." Everyone was shocked. These words are euphemistic, but the implication is, I, Yang Ling, belong to the Yang family, not your Lu family. Others want to squeeze into Lu's house with all their heads, and even if there's a trace of kinship, they feel that the ancestral grave is smoking. On the other hand, Yang Ling politely declined the opportunity to enter the core circle of the Lu family. Seeing his calm expression, it seemed that there was nothing to struggle with when making a decision. What kind of self-confidence does this boy have? Everyone here was shocked, but Mr. Lu smiled when he looked at Yang Ling's clear eyes. People are selfish. One of my two sons is in politics, and the other is in the army. The granddaughter left by the third son runs the Muhua group. Even the old man can't see how powerful Yang Ling is. If one day he passes away and Lu Muhan can't suppress Yang Ling, then the Muhua group is likely to separate from the Lu family. But at this moment, the young man's eyes were clear, and he said this in public, making it clear that he would not seek to seize the Muhua group's property, which made him value Yang Ling even more. As long as he wins over this young man, the old man is confident that even if he dies, the Lu family will not collapse. He laughed and said, "Ling, you are right. The old man is too hasty. Let's talk about this later." As he spoke, he took a few steps forward and grabbed Yang Ling's arm and said, "Come on, I have hidden a few bottles of good wine, and have a few drinks with me tonight." Seeing this move, everyone's jaws almost dropped in shock. Yang Ling refused to join the inner circle of the Lu family. Instead of being angry, the old man became more enthusiastic. If Yang Ling's parents were not here, they would have thought Yang Ling was the old man's illegitimate son. "Ding, you have fulfilled Mr. Lu's wish. Wish value +1, current progress. 10 tenths, you can make a wish." Yang Ling smiled slightly. As for what his wish was, he knew exactly what it was. Behind them, Lin Xiaoshuang said in surprise, "I can't tell. This guy is not the kind of person who follows others." She was one of the few people who knew about the relationship between Lu Muhan and Yang Ling. She looked down on Yang Ling before, and although she didn't look down on Yang Ling now, after going through some things, her attitude changed a little. Lu Muhan looked at Yang Ling's back with a faint smile on his face. "Ding, Lu Muhan thinks that the host is a person who has his own opinions and doesn't covet wealth and honor. His favorability towards you is +5, which is currently 35 points." Yang Ling looked back in surprise, but happened to meet this woman's gaze. A blush flashed across Lu Muhan's beautiful face, and he looked away shyly. Seeing this, Yang Ling was slightly taken aback, then shook his head with a smile. The arrival of Mr. Liu and others brought the party into the right place, but it was obvious that the protagonist tonight was Yang Ling. These celebrities gradually moved closer to Yang Ling, and many of them offer an olive branch, hoping to establish a good relationship. But in front of the old man, they shouldn't be too blatant. In the end, old man Liu thought they were noisy, so he broke up directly. Immediately, these people turned their attention to Yang Ling's parents. Because they didn't know the relationship between Yang Ling and Lu Muhan, they even wanted to sell their daughter. Not to mention, the girls who were promoted were also at the reception, and they were all slim and attractive. Yang Jianjun and his wife were naturally grinning from ear to ear, but Yang Ling had already told them that they would keep their marriage a secret, so they just agreed, but they didn't say anything dry. At the reception, besides Yang Ling, the focus was Lu Muhan. Her appearance and makeup are really amazing. No matter if it is a young man or a middle-aged uncle, they will peek over from time to time. Beside Lu Muhan, in addition to his best friend Lin Xiaoshuang, there are also several handsome young men around. One of them is a tall, handsome man about 25 years old who smiled slightly and said, "Muhan, I can invite you to dance a little later." Dancing? Turn a deaf ear. Lu Muhan did not give any response. The few people around were taken aback and followed the female CEO's gaze, only to see Yang Ling. It's Yang Ling again. For a moment, the faces of the young masters darkened, and the handsome man who invited Lu Muhan had an even more gloomy expression. This person is Zhang Jiehua, who is said by all the ladies to be the hero everywhere. And many people were optimistic about him before. He was the man most likely to win Lu Muhan's heart. But at this moment, this male god who is almost perfect in the eyes of everyone is very upset. His mother was taught a lesson by Yang Ling. Although it was found that her arm was broken and she could just recuperate, this hand was like a slap in the face. In the past, wherever he went, there were stars holding the moon, but now the one being held up was obviously Yang Ling, not him. What made him even more uncomfortable was that Lu Muhan kept looking at Yang Ling and didn't even hear him speak. "Sister Muhan?" Lin Xiaoshuang said a little unhappy. "Brother Jiehua is talking to you." "What?" Lu Muhan let out a soft cry, came back to his senses, and found that everyone was looking at him strangely, and said with a slight blush, "Brother Jiehua, what's the matter with you?" This reaction made several people even more upset. But even if the goddess is upset right now, she can't lose her etiquette. Zhang Jiehua politely invited again. "Muhan, can I invite you to dance later?" Lu Muhan was slightly taken aback, and almost instinctively blurted out, "I'm old." Halfway through the speech, he seemed to realize that he had made a slip of the tongue. After shaking his head with a light smile, he said lightly, "Sorry, I don't want to dance today." This, Zhang Jiehua frowned. Although Lu Muhan had always flatly rejected his invitations before, he knew that it was due to the character of the goddess. The trace of apology in those eyes showed that Lu Muhan at least cared about his own thoughts. But today the frost goddess looked unusually cold, not to mention apologetic, as if she didn't even want to say anything to herself. He turned his head and glared at Yang Ling fiercely. His eyes almost burst into flames. "Ding, you shattered Zhang Jiehua's wish to invite Lu Muhan to dance. Attribute point +1. This is really a person sitting at home, and the pot comes from the sky. How can I smash other people's wishes when I'm pretty good?" Out of the corner of Yang Ling's eyes, he glanced at the rich second generations who were glaring at him not far away, and there was a vague chill in his eyes. "System, I want to make a wish. Let me be proficient in all talents such as singing, dancing, and acting." "Ding, please don't open your mouth like a lion. The host, you can only choose a single item to strengthen." Yang Ling sighed secretly when he heard the words. As expected, the loopholes in the system were not so easy to exploit. The rice can only be eaten mouthful. After hesitating for a while, he said in a deep voice, "Then dance." "Ding, the wish is successful, and the host acquires the skill. Dance proficiency. Instructions: You have mastered every dance category invented by man. Ding, your charm value +1. With a slight smile, he simply allocated the 3 attribute points he earned. In this way, his strength and agility were double 20, his physical strength reached 19 points, and his mental strength was still 16 points. Charm value rose to 6 points. Beside him, Mr. Liu smiled lightly and said, Ling, what are you thinking you are smiling? Ling laughed and said, I thought of some happy things. Mr. Liu thought he was thinking about his granddaughter, so he said proudly, Why are you so shy? A gentle lady and a gentleman are so sweet. However, your relationship cannot be made public for the time being. Muhan holds a high position, and any of her private actions may affect the group's stock price. She just took over the group not long ago. Wait until everything stabilizes before holding the wedding. To be reasonable, Ling didn't want to get married so early either, so he smiled lightly and said, Then how should we get along? Mr. Liu laughed and said, I discussed this matter with Fian. Although it can't be made public, you have already obtained the certificate. In the future, you will live in this villa with Muhan, and you will also serve as the vice president of the group. I will give you 100 million yuan as an annual salary first. What do you think? As he spoke, he stuffed the key into Ling's hand. The lonely man and the widow lived in the same room. So what kind of key was stuffed here? This was directly stuffing the granddaughter's innocence into Ling's hands. Ling took the key in a daze, and then smiled wryly. Old man, you also know that Lu Dong wants to divorce me, and she might not want to live with me. Besides, I'm about to take the college entrance examination, so I'm afraid I won't be able to take the position of vice president. Mr. Liu laughed and said, She does not agree, but I have given you the key, and it is up to you whether you can live in it or not. As for going to university, it doesn't affect your employment in the group. After hearing the words, Ling hesitated for a moment, then nodded with a smile and said, Since you've already said that, let's do what you want. Ding, you have fulfilled Mr. Liu's wish. The wish value is +1, and the current progress is 1/10. Although his wish was fulfilled, old man Liu saw Ling's expression remained indifferent, thinking that he was angry because he didn't disclose the marriage, and there was a trace of helplessness and apology on his face. But this expression was keenly captured by Ling. This is what he was waiting for. Seeing that Ling took out a jade pendant from his bosom seemingly unintentionally, while playing with it casually, he said with a faint smile, I don't know what material this jade pendant is made of. I really like it. Old man, you are very powerful. Can you help me find a few more pieces? I want to buy a piece for my parents and sister. Mr. Liu took the jade pendant curiously. He didn't know much about antiques, but he could tell that the jade pendant made of this material was different from the ones usually sold, so it might be difficult to find it. However, he felt that the Liu family owed Ling, and it was not easy to feel indebted. The old man was not afraid of anything else, but he was afraid that Ling would have a grudge and would not open his mouth. He laughed and said, Okay, the old man will help you with this. Ding, you have fulfilled Mr. Liu's wish of not being indebted. The wish value is +1, and the current progress is 2/10. Ling touched his nose in embarrassment. He made a little calculation, but the old man contributed a wish value instead. He deserves to be a person who has dedicated his life to the country. He has noble morals and makes people admire him from the bottom of his heart. The old man was impatient, so he directly waved to the bodyguard not far away and said, Xiao Wang, hand this jade pendant to the manager of the purchasing department and ask him to find a few more according to the material. The more the better. The bodyguard nodded and left the villa quickly. After achieving his goal, Ling finally smiled. This jade pendant contains the energy needed by the system, and looking for 10 units of energy to upgrade the system is his most important goal at this stage. Talk to the old man again, because the parents couldn't stand being surrounded by people. After a crime, they went home first. Yin Xing saw that his opportunity to perform had come, and volunteered to send the second elder home. Not long after they left, the lights in the venue suddenly dimmed, and with the sound of soft music, the dance began. According to the usual practice in previous years, the dance party was hosted by Han Yakin, the head of the personnel department of Muhua Group, known as Muhua Huadan. Today, Han Yakin is wearing a purple evening dress. At the age of 37, because of her good maintenance, she looks as bright as a girl of 25 or Desh at the moment. As she slowly walked onto the stage, everyone's eyes were full of surprise, and the eyes of many men couldn't hide their scorching heat. This woman's appearance is delicate and beautiful, and her figure and temperament are full of mature charm, which is the most attractive to men. Walking onto the stage, under the gaze of the audience, she smiled softly and said, "Everyone knows that this dance has been a stage for young people to showcase their talents over the years. We must not only have talent, but also talent. Today, the old man specially invited the famous musician Mr. Huang Qiao to be present, and let him comment on the talents of our young people later. Everyone should perform well." As her voice fell, the lights gathered on an old man on the second floor. This person was a well-known musician in China, Mr. Huang Xiao Huang. Immediately, someone exclaimed, "Unexpectedly, the old man invited this powerful man here." In fact, it seems that this kind of family banquet, in addition to connecting with each other and discussing some family and business matters, the more important thing is actually this dance. The upper class pays attention not only to being well-matched, but also to cultivating talents. The performance of every young person at the ball will be recorded and then leaked out. No matter male or female, the more talented they are, the more popular they will be in their circle. In the future, whether it is marriage or cooperation, there will be many the extra points, so everyone attaches great importance to it. Now that the music master is here, if he can get a compliment from him, he will have everything in his face. Under the attention of the audience, Huang Lao smiled and said, "Lao Lu and I are old friends. Don't be nervous. Show your best side." Below, Mr. Lu laughed and said, "Old Huang, in front of a great musician like you, can they not be nervous? Okay, time is precious. Let's get started." The old man gave an order, nodded to Yang Ling, and walked up to the second floor by himself, and everyone's eyes were on Zhang Jiehua at this moment. In terms of talent, among so many young people in the audience, except for Lun Muhan, he is the strongest. In previous years, it was him who opened the show, and Lun Muhan was the finale. Seeing everyone's eyes focused on him, Zhang Jiehua seemed to have become the only leading man again. He smiled handsomely, then cast a provocative glance at Yang Ling, who was not far away, and slowly walked onto the stage. Immediately, someone hugged his violin, and he gracefully took the violin and began to tune it. Below, Lin Xiaoshuang giggled and said, "Brother Jiehua is amazing. His tune is so handsome." Several rich second generations around him laughed when they heard the words, and one of them glanced at Yang Ling, who was not far away, and said loudly on purpose, "That's natural. We have received upper-level education since childhood, especially Jiehua, in terms of music. His talent is even more outstanding. How can some wild boy from the slums compare?" Immediately, another person added, "You are wrong. Although the wild boy has no self-cultivation, he can be beaten. He is a vicious dog. Having a vicious dog at home does not lose money. Speaking of which, I also want to raise a vicious dog for fun." Although he didn't name her by name, the words were aimed at Yang Ling, so it wasn't malicious. Lin Xiaoshuang didn't know if she understood. She giggled and said, "I want to keep you guys, but I don't want big dogs." Lu Muhan frowned slightly when he heard the words, looked at the few people indifferently, and said, "My Lu family doesn't keep dogs, but in my opinion, some people are even worse than dogs in other aspects except eating, drinking, and having fun." After leaving this sentence, he walked away alone. Several people were stunned. Lu Muhan was cursing, and the scolding was ugly. This is clearly to help Yang Ling stand out. The complexions of the few people instantly became ugly. They had an evil fire in their hearts, but they didn't dare to attack Lu Muhan and glared at Yang Ling one by one. It's okay if you don't look at it, but when you look back, it's like falling into an eye. In addition to Yang Ling's indifferent eyes, there were 3 cold lights from the electric shot. After 3 muffled bangs, the coin hit their knees directly, and then the 3 of them went limp and knelt down with a plop. The eyes of the audience cast over in an instant, and then one by one their eyes widened. How come these three young masters suddenly kneeled down? Yang Ling sneered, got up, and stood in front of the three of them. Teasingly said, "The three of you are probably suffering from kidney deficiency. Do you want to call an ambulance for you?" The faces of the three of them instantly turned liver-colored, and Yang Ling actually tricked them into kneeling in public. Those who still want to die still say that they have kidney deficiency. If this gets out, can I still be a human being in the future? The three want to get up almost at the same time, but just halfway up, their knees softened and they knelt down again. With Yang Ling's throwing proficiency and deduction proficiency activated, he can calculate exactly what part to hit and how much effort it takes to make someone unable to stand up. This time, the three of them kneeled firmly in front of Yang Ling. Everyone's eyes widened. Some of them who didn't know the truth really thought it was kidney deficiency, and they couldn't stand still after drinking. These three prodigal sons spend their days and nights drinking. Can't they die at a young age? Honey, you're over 40, and you're still so good. That's amazing. Everyone whispered, and what they said was extremely true. On the stage, Zhang Jiahua shouted, "What's wrong with you three? Get up quickly." The three of them blushed from holding back, but they refused to stand up because their feet were weak. Yang Ling looked at them and said indifferently, "Only dogs kneel to people. No one kneels to dogs. If the three of you want to kneel, go back and get your kidneys back." These words were also considered vicious, and he insisted on assigning the name of kidney deficiency to the three of them. Soon, a staff member came over and helped the three of them up. Although their legs were no longer weak, they had no face to stay here. After looking at Yang Ling with hatred, they left the villa in a hurry. "Ding, you have fulfilled the desire of the people who eat melons to watch the show. The wish value is +1, and the current progress is 3 out of 10. Ding, you smashed the wish of the three to mock you. Attribute point +1. In fact, a few smart people figured out. These three people must have offended Yang Ling and were taught a lesson. Being able to make people kneel and be unable to stand up without anyone noticing. This method is really good, and they looked at Yang Ling with even more fear. Yang Ling didn't look at the pale Lin Xiaoshuang, but looked at Lu Muhan curiously. The three of them came here because they had some backgrounds. The female president directly taught them a lesson for her own sake, which made him feel good about it. After the episode, just now, everyone's eyes focused on Zhang Jiahua again. After all, the three just now were just unlearned and incompetent rich second generations. And this is the talented, handsome guy. At this moment, Zhang Jiahua had finished tuning. After taking a deep breath, he suddenly looked at Yang Ling and said, "I heard that Yang Ling is proficient in musical instruments. I wonder if he can play the violin." As soon as this remark came out, everyone was taken aback. Yang Ling gave him a surprised look and then said with a smile, "Why? Do you want me to play with you?" Zhang Jiahua said confidently, "The ensemble is unnecessary. I just want to bet with you. You and I compete to see who is better at playing the violin. If I win, I will invite Mu Han to dance with you later. If you win, you will naturally invite me. Of course, if you have stage fright, then just pretend I didn't say it." As soon as this remark came out, everyone was stunned. Young people are competitive, and it is nothing to compare, but this bet turned out to be the qualification to dance with Lu Muhan. Lu Muhan frowned slightly when he heard this, with a look of displeasure on his face. There are not many idiots here, and they can guess Zhang Jiahua's purpose after careful thought. First, he would invite Lu Muhan to dance with him at family dinners in previous years, but unfortunately he was rejected. But now he made the bet in front of everyone. As long as Yang Ling accepts the move, if he can win, then Lu Muhan will be there under pressure. You will definitely not refuse in front of everyone. The second is to get revenge on Yang Ling and get back the place. What happened before, the relationship between their family and Yang Ling could not be eased. Once Yang Ling didn't appear on the stage, he would retreat and have no manners. The upper class value a person's courage and tolerance very much. Winning or losing is a matter of military affairs. It doesn't matter if you lose, but stage fright is a big taboo and you will be looked down upon. The third and most critical point is that Zhang Jiehua cannot lose. Everyone knows what happened during the day. Yang Ling is good at playing the piano, but at this age, it is very rare for a person to be proficient in one instrument. If you want to be proficient in two, you must be a genius. Besides, in a sense, the violin is more difficult than the piano. It is impossible for Yang Ling to beat Zhang Jiehua in the field of violin. This could be said to kill 3 birds with 1 stone, sealing off all of Yang Ling's escape routes. Everyone looked at Zhang Jiehua with slightly flickering eyes. He has such calculations at a young age. This person is worthy of being the leader of the younger generation. Seeing that everyone had forgotten to look over, Yang Ling smiled faintly, looked at Zhang Jiehua, and said, "Since you are so confident, then I can't disappoint you. Lu Dong is a golden branch and a jade leaf. I don't dare to hope that I can dance with her. Let's change the bet. If I win, how about asking Your Excellency to dance a striptease?" Yes. Everyone gasped when they heard the words. Yang Ling dared to play so big. But after thinking about it in a blink of an eye, they discovered the boy's purpose in horror. In just one sentence, first of all, he explained in a modest way that he would not force Lu Muhan to do anything, but Zhang Jiehua was not a gentleman enough in comparison. The second is to let Zhang Jiehua do a striptease. If he really wins, it doesn't matter whether he dances the striptease or not, and he will lose face from then on. In the end, Zhang Jiehua was forced to a dead end. If he refused, he would be confident. The most important thing is that he can't change the bet and let Yang Ling do the striptease too. Otherwise, it means that Lu Muhan's status in his heart is not as important as Yang Ling's striptease. General, you're really a good soldier. Some people figured out the joints, and their jaws almost dropped in shock. Scheming, and a deep city. Terror, horror. Who the hell is this Yang Ling? On the second floor, the old man looked at Yang Ling and even raised his eyebrows with a smile. With such adaptability and scheming, this grandson-in-law is really a potential dragon. The more he looked at Yang Ling, the more satisfied he was, and Huang Lao, who was beside him, was also a fine person, and sighed, "Where did you find such a number 1 person, old man? I have opened my eyes today." On the stage, Zhang Jiehua's face was ugly, and seeing Yang Ling's half-smile expression made him even more uncomfortable. However, he has absolute confidence in his violin skills, and there is no way out now. So he gritted his teeth and said, "Ding, you smashed Zhang Jiehua's wish to kill 3 birds with 1 stone, attribute points +1. Ding, Lu Muhan thinks you are more gentlemanly than Zhang Jiehua. Favorability +5, current favorability 40. Yang Ling smiled slightly when he heard the words, and suddenly seemed to sense something. Turning his head to look, he found Lin Xiaoshuang looking at him angrily. Okay, he seemed to understand something, and there was a faint light flashing in his eyes. Zhang Jiehua's psychological quality is also very strong. After being retorted, it didn't affect much. After taking a deep breath, he began to slowly pull the violin. One of the pieces he played was Polish Waltz, which is well known in the world, and it showed a unique artistic spark and charm. The piece is a bit difficult, but after all, this person has practiced the violin for more than 10 years, and he plays it very smoothly. Many people closed their eyes and listened to the music quietly. On the second floor, the old man asked softly, "Old Huang, what do you think?" With a smile on his face, Mr. Huang nodded slightly and said, "The technique of playing and the control of emotions are very good, basically reaching the level of a professional violinist." Oh, the old man was taken aback for a moment, and after glancing at Zhang Jiehua, he looked at Yang Ling with a hint of worry in his eyes. Lin Xiaoshuang looked at Zhang Jiehua, who was acting with his eyes closed on the stage, with a smile on his face. "Sister Muhan, look at how outstanding Brother Jiehua is." Lu Muhan looked calm, but there was still a hint of worry in his eyes. After the song was played, there was a warm applause from the audience. Zhang Jiehua breathed a sigh of relief, as if he was quite satisfied with his performance. After smiling confidently, he looked up to the second floor and asked impatiently, "Old Huang, what do you think of my song?" Mr. Huang seemed to be slightly displeased with his impatient inquiry, but he still smiled and said professionally, "The performance skills are good, and the technique is easy to retract, but the control of emotions is still a bit poor. But in your case at this age, it is very rare to have this attainment. If there is a score, I will give you a score of 75. 75 points." Everyone was taken aback. Mr. Huang has always been known for his strictness. He would give young people no more than 70 points when participating in the program, and he could tell a lot of shortcomings. But at this moment, Zhang Jiahua was given 75 points, which is considered a high score. Everyone whispered to each other, full of praise for Zhang Jiahua. Lin Xiaoshuang even giggled, not to mention how happy she was. Zhang Jiahua became proud, then looked at Yang Ling and said, "It's your turn." Sure. All eyes were on Yang Ling. This young man was scheming and could play the piano. To be honest, he was already very good, but it is almost impossible to beat Zhang Jiahua on the violin. Xiao Yang, it's fine if you don't know how to play the violin. Everyone's time is precious. After admitting your mistake, make friends with Jiahua. That's right. Jiahua and Muhan are playmates since they were young. It's okay to dance, so don't be so narrow-minded. Xiao Yang, people must be self-aware. Take a step back, and don't be so serious. At first glance, these words sounded like advice, but in fact, they all had ulterior motives. They were mocking Yang Ling for not being overconfident, and even wanted him to admit defeat directly, and his reputation would become bad from then on. Lin Xiaoshuang grinned and said, "Sister Muhan, Yang Ling is doomed. When you dance with Brother Jiahua, remember to ask him to treat us to dinner." Lu Muhan snorted lightly when he heard the words, and the worry in his eyes became even more serious. Seeing that everyone's eyes were on him, Yang Ling smiled faintly, stood up, and walked slowly towards the stage. On the stage, Zhang Jiahua sneered and said, "You really have the courage to come up." Yang Ling took the violin from his hand and said lightly, "There are always some people who are self-righteous, but in my opinion, your so-called self-confidence is totally vulnerable." Humph! When they passed each other, Zhang Jiahua sneered in his ear and said, "This round is just the beginning. I will slowly settle accounts with you." With a cold snort, he walked off the stage directly. In Yang Ling's view, Zhang Jiahua was no different from the people he met before. They were just a bunch of clowns. He sat down calmly, glanced at the people below, and then, without waiting for Huang Lao to start, he casually tested the feel of the piano, stroked the strings, and slowly pulled with his right hand. Ding! The musical instrument proficiency skill is activated. As the system's voice fell, beautiful notes burst out from his fingertips. This! The moment the piano sounded, Huang Lao gasped. "Is this a shakan?" But he played so spiritually. Not only Huang Lao, a great musician, but even the melon eaters below who knew nothing about the violin all stared wide-eyed. He can really play the violin. Wow, this sounds too good. Everyone was surprised at first, but as the notes continued to flow, the shock on their faces began to dissipate, replaced by an intoxicated look. The notes on Yang Ling's fingertips are sometimes as clear as a spirit rain in the empty mountains, sometimes as passionate as the scorching sun, and sometimes as empty and quiet as a boat on a moonlit night, making them sink into one after another as the notes change. In a beautiful world, regardless of men and women, they all closed their eyes tightly at this moment, as if they were in an illusion, addicted and unable to extricate themselves. The whole scene fell into infinite serenity. Only the beautiful sound of the violin rippled a little bit. Almost everyone was intoxicated, but only one person was awake, and this person was Zhang Jiahua. His face was as ugly as if he had eaten a fly. Under such a melody, he didn't even need to think about it. The elegant sound of the violin suddenly stopped when it was about to step into the highest chord. As if a good dream had been interrupted, everyone woke up suddenly, and then all of them stared at Yang Ling with wide eyes. That expression was like that of a dissatisfied woman, not to mention how uncomfortable it was. Yang Ling smiled helplessly and said, "Sorry, I forgot the score. I'll play it for you next time." Hiss! There was a gasp in the field, and everyone looked at Yang Ling with resentment. If not for the fact that all the people present were of status, they would have turned into resentful wives on the spot. But even though it was only more than half of the performance, the effect was achieved. After they calmed down, there was an uproar in the audience. My God, how could there be such a beautiful piece of music in the world? My ears are getting pregnant. Whoa. Hey, why don't you arrange a time for Yang Ling to meet our daughter? Husband, are you crazy? My daughter is only 10 years old. Looking at the expressions of the people below, Yang Ling smiled secretly. With his photographic memory, how could he forget the music score? He did it on purpose. Didn't you tell me just now? The young master won't make you feel comfortable. What can you do to me? Ding, you smashed everyone's desire to listen to beautiful music. Attribute points +1. Yang Ling laughed secretly in his heart, while Elder Huang finally came to his senses on the other side. He looked at Yang Ling below with tears in his eyes and exclaimed, "Genius! This is a genius! After so many years, we have finally produced such a genius in China's music industry. Old Liu, let me take him away. Within 3 years, I promise to make him famous all over the world." Mr. Liu's face was also full of smiles. He laughed and said, "I think you want to marry your granddaughter to him. You are a very bad old man." As if being poked into his mind, Huang Lao blushed and said with a chuckle, "Look at what you said. My granddaughter is not yet of age. But if this kid really has this idea, it's okay to decide on the marriage in advance." Mr. Liu was secretly happy when he heard the words. After all, he was the first to act first, but he said with a grumpy face, "Could it be that you have a granddaughter? Okay, stop talking nonsense and score quickly." At this moment, everyone's eyes were also focused on him. After taking a deep breath, Mr. Huang said in a deep voice, "Old man, I'm actually not qualified to rate Xiaoyang, because I don't have such performance accomplishments either. But if I insist on a score, if the full score is 100 points, I will give 120 points. But because Xiao Yang forgot the score, 20 points will be deducted. So let's make it 100. As soon as this remark came out, the audience was in an uproar again. The music master actually said that his attainments were not as high as Yang Ling's. Although it was obviously exaggerated, it was enough to show Yang Ling's level. In fact, he doesn't need a score at all. Everyone knows that Yang Ling's violin level is beyond Zhang Jiehua's. But what they didn't know was that Huang Lao didn't lie. He was really not as good as Yang Ling. Everyone started to praise Yang Ling one by one, and some older girls and daughters-in-law looked at the young man on the stage with bright eyes, and they all started to look at him secretly. Lu Muhan breathed a sigh of relief. A faint smile appeared on the corner of his mouth, and there was an inexplicable emotion in his eyes when he looked at Yang Ling. Lin Xiaoshuang beside her had an expression of disbelief written all over her face. This poor boy is so powerful. Even Brother Jiehua can't compare to him. It shouldn't be. How could it become like this? If things go on like this, Sister Muhan will fall. No, you can't let this man succeed in his scheme. At this moment, the system's notification sounded in Yang Ling's mind. Ding, you have fulfilled Lu Muhan's and Mr. Lu's wishes for you to win. Your favorability is +5, and your current favorability is 45. Ding, you smashed the wishes of Zhang Jiehua and Lin Xiaoshuang. Attribute points +2. The corner of Yang Ling's mouth curled up. He looked at Zhang Jiehua and said, "How about Master Zhang? Come on stage and dance for the big guy." Chill. All eyes were on Zhang Jiehua. His face turned livid. The bet was proposed by himself, and he agreed to it after Yang Ling changed the bet. Now that everyone is watching, he won't be on stage, and he won't be on stage. It's already hard to get off. Seeing that he was not moving, Yang Ling sneered and said, "Can't afford to lose?" From the point of view of us ordinary people, it is the most obvious truth to accept the bet and admit defeat. It turns out that you young masters don't understand. It seems that some so-called upper-class people, social elites, are not as good as us common people. Yang Ling's words were suspected of killing someone's heart. The people off the field were all elites who thought they were high society. Zhang Jiehua had lost face to the whole circle. Everyone glared at him. Zhang Jiehua's entire face turned red, and his whole body trembled. This time in front of Lu Muhan, in front of everyone. His face was disgraced, and the image he had accumulated before was almost gone. He looked at Yang Ling, gritted his teeth, and said, "You're being cruel this time. Let's see how long you can go." Leaving this sentence to vent his anger, Zhang Jiehua didn't even want the violin and quickly left the villa, looking extremely embarrassed. Everyone shook their heads when they saw this. In fact, as long as he bowed his head to Yang Ling, complimented him, and said, "Haha, it would be over. Could it really make you a striptease?" Unexpectedly, this person is so narrow-minded, really like a mother, like a son. The face of the whole circle was lost by him. Zhang Jiehua's status in the hearts of everyone can be said to have plummeting. The dance continued, and young people came to the stage one after another to show off their talents. But with Yang Ling's high energy in front, everyone in the audience felt dull. Even Lin Xiaoshuang's ballet didn't raise their interest much. Elder Huang also seemed to lack interest and just made a few pertinent comments. It wasn't until Lu Muhan came to power that this situation was reversed. I saw Lu Muhan in an evening dress sitting in front of the piano with a calm and peaceful expression, and the ray of light reflected her figure very clearly. This woman is like a goddess under the moon, so beautiful and refined that it is difficult to feel profane in the slightest. Suddenly, the old man upstairs said with a chuckle, "Shaoling, Muhan once said that he wanted to play a piece of The Wizard of Oz with someone. Do you know the flute or the whole flute?" "What?" Yang Ling was slightly taken aback when he heard the words, and said with a wry smile, "Yes, I will, but I haven't played with anyone yet. There's a first time for everything, and it will be done." The old man laughed and said, "Come on, you guys will play a piece together, and we will have a great time feasting our ears. Don't you think so?" Everyone in the audience couldn't get enough of the Shakon dance just now, and now there's a chance for Yang Ling to play another one, if he will let it go. They started booing one after another, seeing that it would be impossible if they didn't go on stage. Yang Ling took the flute from Han Yakin, shook his head with a wry smile, and walked slowly towards the stage. Lu Muhan turned his head and didn't look at him, but when he got closer, it was not difficult to see that the girl's neck was a little red. "Why don't you refuse when you're so shy?" Yang Ling muttered something in his heart, and then glanced at the score on the piano. The audience fell silent. Lu Muhan let out a breath, glanced at Yang Ling secretly, and began to flick the piano with her delicate fingertips. The artistic conception of The Wizard of Oz is ethereal. The piano is actually just an accompaniment, and the ethereal sound of the flute is the soul of it. Yang Ling mastered all the playing methods of musical instruments, lowered his head and lowered his eyebrows, and began to play slowly. The sound of the flute was like the whisper of an elf echoing in the deep valley, euphemistic and moving, making people fall into it unconsciously. As if infected by the sound of the flute, Lu Muhan's heart completely calmed down, and the sound of the piano was like tinkling spring water, adding a sense of tranquility and serenity. The ensemble of the two zither flutes brought everyone in the audience into a fairyland. Their faces all showed intoxicated looks, as if they were listening to the singing of birds and the fragrance of flowers. After the song was played, there was thunderous applause from the audience. Yang Ling smiled faintly and turned his head to look, only to find that Lu Muhan was also looking at him. There were 7 points of tenderness and 3 points of shyness in those eyes, which were really breathtakingly beautiful. Yang Ling's face turned red unconsciously. While Lu Muhan seemed to realize something, her delicate face turned red all of a sudden. She looked away in a panic, looked down at the score, wondering what she was thinking. "Ding, you have fulfilled everyone's desire to listen to the sounds of nature. Wish value +1. Ding, you have fulfilled Mr. Lu's wish. Wish value +1. Current progress 6/10. Ding, you played the part of the cave flute in The Wizard of Oz perfectly. Lu Muhan's favorability for you is +5, and the current favorability is 50. The favorability is automatically converted into intimacy. Ding, you have completed the system task, and you have 1 chance to make unlimited wishes. Tip, You can continue to increase the intimacy of the system-related characters. If it reaches the full value of 100, you will get a treasure chest. In this kind of benefit, Ling was taken aback for a moment, but when he thought that the target was Lu Muhan, he felt a little helpless. Speaking of which, it's really hard to improve the favorability of this female president, and it's just that her own charm value has no effect on her. Not to mention so many things that happened before, just talking about it now. Playing a piece of The Wizard of Oz in an ensemble can only be added 5 favorability points. If it were another little girl, I'm afraid she would have been fascinated long ago. Even if she agreed with her body, it would be possible. He knew that there would definitely be good things in the treasure chest, but if he wanted to touch this treasure chest, he might have to wait until the year of the monkey. Speaking of favorability, he thought of the little girl who gave him a rocket for no reason. If only she was also a person related to the system. But what Ling wants to do most now is to quickly find a place where no one is around and use up the opportunity to make unlimited wishes. He was thinking about something on his mind, but in the eyes of outsiders, he was very gentlemanly waiting for Lu Muhan to step down together. On the second floor, the 2 old men looked at Ling more and more pleasingly. The old man smiled happily, but Huang Lao hated his son. Why didn't this bastard get married earlier and let his granddaughter be born earlier? May you actually let this bad old man get ahead of her. And she was so mad at the old man. The people below were also talking a lot at the moment, and Ling's talent and self-cultivation had been completely recognized by them. They naturally regarded Ling as someone like themselves, an elite of the upper class. Now, if someone said that Ling was a poor boy, that he didn't need Ling to do it himself, they would immediately retort, "This is the circle." There is no doubt that Ling will already be in this circle after tonight. On the stage, Lu Muhan blushed, and it took her a while to calm down. According to the etiquette in this circle, Ling took her hand in a gentlemanly manner, saluted the audience, and then stepped off the stage together. But she turned her head and saw that this person was in a daze. How could she help her up? Seeing this, Lu Muhan was taken aback, thinking that Ling didn't understand. So he stood up with a blushing face and coughed lightly with a strong hint. Seeing that Ling finally came to his senses, she smiled slightly, but before she could be happy, Ling said suddenly, "Dr. Lu, I ate and played. I'm about to go home now. You should go to bed early too." As he spoke, he walked off the stage on his own and waved to the old man and Huang Lao. "Old man, Mr. Huang, I'm going home to sleep first. See you later." Then he left the villa without looking back. The whole place was silent, and there was no sound. Just leave. Where did the gentlemanly demeanor go? Go home and sleep? It's only 10 o'clock for him, and you don't have a wife, so you go to bed so early to take care of yourself? Cinderella does not transform until 12 o'clock, okay? The old man laughed and said, "Old Huang, not many young people are so healthy these days. Let's sleep too." Huang Lao nodded with a smile and said, "This guy is not bad. He is in good health when he goes to bed early and wakes up early. Let's call him for morning exercises tomorrow." Looking at the back of the second elder, everyone was speechless and then suddenly realized. The older generation likes a healthy lifestyle. Ling quietly catered to the preferences of the elderly. Tall, really tall. People are more popular than people. Why can't we think of it? At this moment, Lu Muhan was a little bitter. This guy actually left him and ran away, and even made such a lame excuse. "Come back home. My wife is here, and my grandfather secretly gave him all the keys to the villa. Isn't this his home? He doesn't have women outside, does he?" Out of female instinct, Lu Muhan became vigilant, and then realized that he was thinking about something strange, and shook his head with a wry smile. "Ding, you crushed Lu Muhan's wish to step down with you. Attribute point +1. Ling, who had already left the villa area, was taken aback for a moment, then realized what he had done wrong, and looked back with a little apology, but his pace was even faster. After a while, he came to a small park where he often brushed attribute points. It was already full moon, and there was no one in the park. Standing by the small lake, he said in a deep voice, "System, I want to use the opportunity of unlimited wishing so that I can control thunder and lightning. Regarding this wish, he has already thought about it over and over again. This ability to control thunder is almost a combination of merit and defense. When attacking, you can release lightning or strengthen the thrown coin. When defending, you can arrange a power grid around yourself to affect the surrounding magnetic field. And with the ability to sense range, even a sniper troll may be able to defend against it. There is no way. There are indeed many people who want to deal with him now. What if they buy murder? He had to guard against it. After his voice fell, the system did not give a direct reply as before, but fell into silence. Immeasurable heavenly venerable, Amit Ba, Taishang Lao Jun is as urgent as a jade order. Bless my wish to be successful. Successful wish, successful wish. Yang Ling found that his heart was beating so hard that he had to start thinking about it. It seemed like a moment had passed, and it seemed like centuries had passed. At this moment, the system's voice finally sounded. Ding, the wish was successful. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the skill. Thunder Control. Thunder Control. Possess the ability to manipulate all thunder and lightning in the world at will. Ding, the control of thunder is an outward-looking ability, and the host needs to upgrade it by itself. Current skill level, LV1. The current amount of mind that can be manipulated, 1 unit. Ding, your charm value +1. Nice, beautiful. Young Ling laughed out loud, and as the system's voice fell, he only felt a mysterious power swimming in his body, and then a sense of enlightenment rose in his mind. With a touch of his fingertip, the thunder elements around him instantly condensed on his fingertip, forming a lightning bolt as thick as a little finger. With a thought in his mind, the electric arc directly exploded on a piece of bluestone not far away, and a small crater was blown out of the bluestone on the spot. Superpower! This is superpower! Yang Ling laughed loudly. At this moment, he seemed to feel that his life had been sublimated, and his whole body felt extremely comfortable. However, when he wanted to condense more powerful lightning, he found that he couldn't succeed. The power of thunder for a unit was only a little big. Holding back his excitement, Yang Ling hurriedly asked, System, how do I upgrade this skill? Ding, each upgrade of this type of skill requires a wish value ranging from 10 to 50. The power of the skill increases tenfold after upgrading. LV1 is the lowest, LV5 is the highest. The host will consume a certain amount of physical and mental strength each time it is used. Please use it with caution. Yang Ling was taken aback when he heard this, and then smiled wryly. This system is really cheating, although it has given him this ability, but it has too many restrictions. That's all. A unit will use it first, and one day he will be able to truly control thunder and call the wind and rain. Now he has 7 free attribute points. Without any hesitation, he added 4 points of physical strength and 3 points of spirit. Ding! It is detected that the host's physical strength has reached 20 points, and the reward is being drawn. Please wait. Ding! Congratulations to the host for getting the reward. Strength +5. Yang Ling smiled slightly, but accepted the fact. The previous whole point rewards have all drawn skills, which can be described as an explosion of luck, but it is impossible for him to have such good luck all the time, and it is not bad to have 5 points of strength. After a wave of strengthening, his current attribute value has increased again. Strength, 25. Agility, 20. Stamina, 20. Spirit, 19. Charm, 7. Now this panel looks a bit inhuman. He laughed, in a good mood, and walked unsteadily towards the rental house. After returning home, the beauty anchor was playing the live broadcast, and he didn't bother. He cleaned up and lay down on the bed to sleep. Perhaps it was because he had consumed a lot of mental energy yesterday, and he had an exceptionally sweet sleep, until it was almost noon before he was awakened by the pressure. Yes, he was awakened by Chu Xiyin. When Yang Ling opened his eyes, he saw Chu Xiyin riding on him in loose pajamas. Her 2 big white legs were clearly visible, and her face was flushed with excitement. Yang Ling's first reaction was that his virginity was gone. After seeing the situation clearly, he heaved a sigh of relief, and then said angrily, I asked you to wake people up. Can you be normal? In case something goes wrong if I can't help it. Can you afford to pay? Chu Xin was taken aback when she heard the words. Then she giggled and said, You can't help it anymore. I'll support you. Oh, don't talk about this. Ling, look at this video. Is it you? Ling took the phone curiously and looked at it. On the video, there was a young man playing the violin. Wasn't he himself last night? He nodded in confusion and said, It's me. What's the matter? After hearing the affirmative answer, Chu Xin said in surprise, You're hot. Your video is going crazy all over the internet. What? Ling was taken aback. He opened the bullet screen and saw that the screen was full of 666. Besides that, there were many compliments. The voice of nature. Who is this little brother? Why is my little brother's face so blurry? I'm going to kill that cameraman. Fuzzy, I want to be his girlfriend too. This is the real artist. Those little fresh meats are far behind him. Why don't you finish the performance? Are you trying to kill me with obsessive-compulsive disorder? Ling glanced at the playback volume on the P station, and it has reached 300 million. Chu Xin said excitedly, Your video is not only spread on large video sites like P Station, but also reported on social platforms like V-Letter. Go and see Dun Yang. The hot search list has already been topped to the first place. Ling was dumbfounded and had nothing to say for a while. Why don't you just play the violin? There's no need to be so scary. In the following time, Ling really looked at the major media websites. Basically, the headlines were Mysterious Boy Plays Beautiful Shakon Dance. Who is he who made your ear pregnant? Where is he? Such eye-catching headlines. In addition to praising Ling's violin skills, the comments below are more of a joke. Why is the spray not fully recorded? Why is the picture quality so blurry? This is actually human nature. Imagine that when you're lying down and enjoying the wonderful music, you suddenly stop at the most comfortable moment. What is the difference between this and being stabbed in the body? For a while, rumors about the mysterious boy were flying all over the internet. Netizens were looking for him, people from the Music Association were looking for him, and even private detectives were looking for him. Pushing the excited Chu Xin away, Ling was silent for a while. As if thinking of something, a faint smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. On the balcony, he dialed Xing's phone number and asked in a deep voice, You know everything, right? Tell me what's going on. Xing on the other end of the phone smiled bitterly. Mr. Yang, the clear version of the video recorded at the dance party is still in the hands of our security department. The video circulating on the internet is probably privately filmed by the guests last night and posted online. Because the matter is related to you, the old man has issued a password ban. Regarding your identity, it should not be exposed in the short term. Ling snorted softly and said, How do you do things? Do you know how much this bothers me? This kind of private dance can also be regarded as a kind of commercial secret, and it has always been forbidden for guests to take photos privately. Xing deserves to be scolded and scolded. Ling said, How about this? Bring your colleague from the Information Technology Department over here. I have something to tell you. Xing shrank his neck when he heard the words, knowing that he might be criticized on the spot. But Ling is now the vice president of the group, and he dare not refuse one offers. He tentatively asked, Mr. Yang, can you communicate with Director Liu about this matter? Or let's have a meeting to resolve it? After hesitating for a while, Ling said, Director Liu is busy, so we can settle this matter ourselves. Come here now. Yes. Half an hour later, Ling's rented house in Tianshan Garden. In the living room, Ling was sitting on the sofa. Besides Xing, there were two other people standing in front of him. One is Zhang Liu from the Ministry of Security, and the other is Wang Wenbo, the Minister of the Ministry of Information. As for Chu Xin, she was driven back to her room to sleep. Looking at Ling, who looked calm, the three of them secretly swallowed a mouthful of saliva, ready to be scolded. Ling glanced at a few people and suddenly asked, Minister Wang, tell me, how many well-known websites does our group have? Wang Wenbo was taken aback when he heard the words and replied honestly, Mr. Yang, the group has only started to enter the network field in recent years and purchased several small and medium-sized media websites. The only one that is somewhat famous is the TCPL network platform. He also knows that this TC platform is a comprehensive website that integrates video, news, social networking, and other functions. It can barely be regarded as a second-rate website in China. He nodded and asked curiously, "In the internet age, information is developed, and you all know about videos. Minister Wang, do you think we can make a pot of gold by taking advantage of this enthusiasm?" As soon as this remark came out, several people were taken aback for a moment, and then reacted violently. In the current network, traffic is equal to users, and users are equal to money. As long as the website traffic is high, all kinds of investors and advertisers will rush to send money over. Ling's words made the three of them dumbfounded, and they were all overwhelmed with admiration. The boss is the boss, and you can find business opportunities at will. Ling also had an idea, but as the head of the technical department, Wang Bowen had an idea in an instant. After pondering for a while, he said, "Mr. Yang, we can claim that we have contacted you, and you will be a guest on our website one day and play a live song. In this way, the website's traffic will definitely skyrocket, and let's talk about it with the advertisers. It is conservatively estimated that the revenue from advertising alone may reach 200 million. Ling motioned them to sit down and said with a chuckle, "Although your idea is good, it's a one-shot deal. Well, later on, your department will choose a suitable angle to put the video of me and Lu Dong playing together on the website. But before you release it, you have to do a few things. First, Dong Lu and I must be behind the scenes. Secondly, Lu Dong's figure should be blurred as much as possible so that no one can recognize him. I could be a little clearer, but I must not show my face. Third, the surrounding scenes and the guests below should be processed so that no one can see the clues. After doing these three things, you can't claim to have found me. Instead, you have to say that this is a video provided by an anonymous netizen. He will release the latest video updates on the website one after another, revealing it bit by bit. Speaking of which, if they still don't understand, they don't have to do it." The three were dumbfounded. It's like watching a movie, a little bit fascinating, a little bit to grab the appetite of the people who eat melons so that they can't stop. Needless to say, under such means, the traffic of the website will definitely skyrocket, and it will continue to skyrocket. Xing reacted suddenly and immediately flattered him. "Tall, it's really tall. Mr. Yang's methods are simply unheard of. I admire Lao Yin." "Okay." Wang Bowen frowned. This Xing actually rushed to flatter him before him? How can this be tolerated? He immediately praised him greatly. This person's cultural level is very high, and he almost boasted that Ling was the best in the world. Xing and Zhang Lu stared at him. Why didn't they realize that this kid still has such a talent? Seeing that Wang Bowen had the urge to talk for hours, Ling hurriedly waved his hands and said, Okay, I understand what you mean. Let's get down to business." Wang Bowen laughed when he heard the words and finally settled down. "Ding, you smashed Wang Bowen's desire to continue flattering, attribute point +1. Ling rolled his eyes and then said, "What do you think about the website's revenue from this hype?" "I'm coming." There was a cleverness in the hearts of the three, and Wang Bowen said on the spot, "Mr. Yang, you could divide it as you say." Ling frowned, pretending to be angry, and said, "Bastard, how can I have the final say? Doesn't the group have a financial system? You are all the backbone of the leader group. You must take the lead and set an example, and don't say such irresponsible words to me in the future." "What?" The three of them were startled, and then reacted. "Didn't your old man mention the income? How can we become irresponsible if we follow your wishes?" However, the three of them are all good people. Xing knew that his chance to perform was coming, so he hurriedly said, "Mr. Yang, the group has regulations on this matter. If an employee has a personal project, it needs to be carried out with the help of the group's resources, as long as it is approved. The group is not responsible for the losses, but if the project is profitable, it needs to pay 20% of the proceeds." Ling nodded in satisfaction and said, "Okay, let's go through a process in the technical department, and don't need to give it to Director Lu. I can just approve it here." The technical department is responsible for the specific implementation, and the security department assists. As for the income, 30% will be turned over to the company's finances, and 10% will be divided between your two departments to give employees some benefits. The three of them looked at each other. This project could make a lot of money at first glance. This young master really dared to do it, bypassing the group general manager's office, and directly approved it himself. Also turned over 30% to the company's finances to get a good reputation. The means are clever. It is really high. But your own department can also get a share, unless you are a fool. The three immediately said, Mr. Yang, don't worry. We will prepare right away when we go back. Ding! You have fulfilled the wish of the three to earn extra money. Wish value +1. Current progress, 7/10. Yang Ling waved his hand and said, Go ahead. Hurry up and give me a plan. After they left, Yang Ling smiled and left the rental house. Calculating the time, there's still 1 week left before the college entrance examination. Although I'm confident, I still need to prepare more and strive to get a better result. On the way to Xinhua bookstore, his cell phone rang, but it was Jiang Hua calling. Brother Yang, the store has been found, but the other party is out of town, and it may take half a month to come back. If Jiang Hua didn't call, Yang Ling almost forgot about it. He laughed and said, You can talk about the matter over there. I trust you. If you don't have enough money, just call me. Okay. Jiang Hua on the other end of the phone answered, suddenly lowered his voice, and said mysteriously, Brother Yang, I found out something. Fang Yue seems to be dumped by Tian Juyan. Someone saw her go home alone last night, still wiping tears secretly. Is there such a thing? Yang Ling frowned, and after a moment of silence, he still sighed softly. Forget it. She has nothing to do with me. You go about your business. I'll hang up first. On the other side, as Yang Ling and Lu Muhan's ensemble was put on the internet, the entire internet caused an uproar. The Wizard of Oz was completely famous, and the netizens finally heard the full version played by Yang Ling. The wonderful music and the elegant back view made people intoxicated, and at the same time, they wanted to see the true face of the young Lu Shan even more urgently. For a while, the traffic on TC Network skyrocketed, from only tens of thousands of traffic per day to millions of traffic per day now, and the number of new registered users reached 70 in just 3 days. The website really exploded overnight. Various advertising contracts and sponsorship contracts flew over like pieces of paper. In 3 days, the website's revenue reached a terrifying 400 million, which already exceeded the sum of the past year. On the 4th day, a well-known music website wanted to buy the copyright of this video at a sky-high price of 300 million. The general manager of the group agreed, but Yang Ling directly rejected the approval. With the video, the traffic of the website will continue to rise, and selling it is only a one-shot deal, which is not worthwhile. And he has a bigger money-making plan in mind. The identity of the mysterious boy continued to ferment, and the traffic on the website was increasing. When Yang Ling received the summary report every day, although his face was calm, he was already happy in his heart. In 5 days, his account has already gained 280 million income. On the 5th day, an anonymous netizen broke the news that the person playing the piano in the video was the chairman of Muhua Group, Lu Muhan. The young man has a close relationship with the Lu family. He is now an executive of the Muhua Group, and he is about to take the college entrance examination. This musical genius is actually still a candidate. The key point is that he is already the management of a large group at a young age. As soon as the news came out, the whole network shook again. Netizens are even more eager to see this genius show up, and many people have asked the boy to hold a concert to feast everyone's ears. On TC.com, wishes for the success of the teenager's college entrance examination flooded the comment area. That night, the settlement of flowers and other gifts for video rewards came out, 120 million. Proportionally, Yang Ling earned another 60. Public opinion fermented to such an extent that Muhua Group had no choice but to respond positively. The spokesperson said that Yang Ling has received everyone's blessings, and because he is preparing for the exam, he will not appear in public for the time being. As soon as this remark came out, the public opinion gradually calmed down. In the early morning of the second day, Ling took a look at his account, and the balance had reached 750 million. This is really a huge sum of money. Since the energy stone has been entrusted to the old man to find it for him, the money can be spent for a while. Experience the feeling of being a big money yourself. Today is the day of the college entrance examination. After washing up, Ling took the admission ticket and walked towards the examination center. I didn't expect to meet an acquaintance on the way to the examination room. Not far away, two girls were sitting in a taxi with fear and anxiety on their faces, and the taxi was also surrounded by a group of men in suits and sunglasses. The taxi driver didn't know where he was going. Someone beside the vehicle was pointing at the men in suits, but they didn't dare to step forward to stop them. The college entrance examination is important. If someone else is in the car, maybe you won't even read it, but the ones in the car are actually Fang Yue and her younger sister Fang Yameng. And the leader of this group of men in black is Tian Juyin, who is on crutches. Seeing this, Ling frowned slightly, then walked up calmly. At this moment, Fang Yue had already got off the car. Tian Juyin looked at her coldly and said, "Fang Yue, break up if you say you want to break up? Who do you think you are? And who do you think I am?" Tian Juyin. With tears in her eyes, Fang Yue said eagerly, "Brother Yin, can you get out of the way? Xiaoming's college entrance examination is going to be too late. Our business, I'll talk to you later, okay?" Tian Juyin said angrily. "Tell me later? Tian Juyin, still have to wait for you. If it wasn't for you, how could I have been beaten like this by Ling? How could my family lose so much money? I spent so much money to get you into Donghua University. You bitch still dare to keep in touch with Ling? Will I be a cash machine? I didn't. It was really a coincidence that day." Fang Yue burst into tears. At that time, Tian Juyin was gentle and considerate when chasing her, sunny and handsome. But now, after tearing off the disguise, she turned out to be like this. Tian Juyin sneered and said, "Master, I understand. I've been dating you for a year, but you don't let me sleep all the time. So you're still thinking about that little lover?" "No, that's not the case." Fang Yue kept wiping her tears while shaking her head and said, "I just want to keep the most beautiful things on the wedding night. Master Tian, please step aside. If my sister fails to catch up in the college entrance examination, it will be over." Not far away, Ling glanced at Fang Yue in surprise. Who would have thought that she was still a chick? It's just that Fang Yue's pleading didn't have any effect, Tian Juyin said with a grim face. 500 million. If you return the money to me, I will let you go there. Otherwise, not only will your sister now want to take the college entrance examination, but I want you two sluts to accompany me today. Fang Yameng in the car trembled, and Fang Yue cried even more. She choked up and said, "Master Tian, I will definitely pay back the money. Please let my sister take the college entrance examination. I will definitely pay it back. Don't hurt her." "Return," Tian Juyin said angrily. "You're still a fart." As he said that, he slapped him directly, but his palm was frozen in midair, and a big hand grabbed his hand firmly like iron tongs. Ling. A few people turned their heads to look, and they all gasped. Almost instinctively, Tian Juyin took several steps back, looked at Ling with fear in his eyes, and was speechless for a while. And the bodyguard around him had already seen Ling's power, and they all backed away in shock. It was just a face-to-face meeting. The group of people who were arrogant and domineering just now were as scared as a mouse seeing a cat. Ling glanced lightly at the crying woman with pear blossoms and rain beside him, and then looked at Tian Juyin. He said with a half-smile, "Master Tian, what a coincidence." Tian Juyin's whole body trembled a little, but with so many people around at the moment, he still bit the bullet and said in a trembling voice, Ling, I care about my own woman. What does it have to do with you? What is a relationship?" Ling said indifferently, "Whoever you want to care about has nothing to do with me. But have you forgotten one thing? I said if you dare to buzz in my ears, you will shut you up completely. It seems that you took my words as wind on your ears." Tian Dian's face turned pale with shock, The leg that was broken by Ling suddenly felt a dull pain. He instinctively took a few steps back and said in horror, "I didn't know you would pass by here. Ling, you took so much money from my family. Don't go too far." Ling sneered and said, "I don't care if you know. Now I will give you two choices. Either get out immediately or leave a leg behind." From Ling's appearance to now, the melon eaters on one side have been stunned. It's unbelievable that a boy in ordinary clothes can scare away the rich second generation and so many burly men. Now Ling directly tells Tianjuyan to leave. Isn't that too strong? All eyes focused on Tianjuyan. Amidst the intense fear, Tianjuyan lost face and wanted to get into the car and escape on the spot. But at this time, Ling's cold voice sounded, "Did I let you go by car?" The voice was not loud, but it hit Tianjuyan's chest like a fist. He was so frightened that he really didn't dare to ride in the car. He didn't dare to look at Ling, but said sternly to Fang Yue, "Bitch, don't think that I can't do anything with you because someone is covering me. After school starts, I will take care of you slowly." After saying that, he fled away in embarrassment with the group of bodyguards on crutches. Ding, you smashed Tianjuyan's wish to stop Sister Fang Yue. The wish value is +1, and the current progress is 2 out of 10. The melon eaters were stunned. Fang Yue heaved a sigh of relief, and Fang Yuming in the car looked at Ling with faint admiration. Speaking of the wishing value, Ling has been busy reviewing this week, preparing to receive 2 points of wishing value and attribute points from animals every day, but even so, he has already filled the wishing tank twice. One of them was used to directly upgrade the thunder control, which increased the number of thunder and lightning that could be controlled to 10 units. The other wishing opportunity was not used in a hurry, but was temporarily saved for emergencies. In addition, his current assignable attribute points have reached 15 points, and he has never used them. He plans to see the difficulty of the college entrance examination and whether he needs to add some mental strength. His goal is very clear. That is to go to the top of the college entrance examination. Glancing at Fang Yue, who was still crying with his head bowed beside him, he sighed softly in his heart, took out a pack of napkins from his pocket and handed it over, and said calmly, "Get in the car." As he spoke, he walked towards Tianjuyan's commercial vehicle. Looking at the back of the young man in front of her, Fang Yue felt even more sad. She stood there motionless, but she wiped away more and more tears, which could not stop. It wasn't until her younger sister got off the taxi and gently tugged at her sleeves that she mustered up the courage to follow. Naturally, Ling sat in the co-pilot's seat. Fang Yue knew that he didn't have a driver's license. After wiping away her tears, she sat in the driver's seat, while her younger sister Fang Yumeng sat in the back row. After the commercial vehicle started, it slowly drove towards the examination room. There was an abnormal silence in the car along the way, except for Fang Yue's soft sobbing sound occasionally. After an unknown amount of time, she suddenly said softly, "Ling, thank you today." Ling snorted in his nose as a response. Seeing this, Fang Yue burst into tears again. She choked up and said, "I'm sorry. I did that kind of thing, but you still helped me. I'm so sorry. You must hate me. But I really can't help it. I don't want to be like this." She was a little out of control, and her hand holding the steering wheel was shaking. Ling stretched out his hand calmly, held the steering wheel, stabilized the car, and then said lightly, "I said at the time, don't regret breaking up with me. What's the point of telling me this now?" Fang Yue burst into tears when she heard the words. The sadness and regret in her heart made her feel suffocated. She bit her lower lip hard, trying to keep herself from crying, but she couldn't suppress her emotions no matter what. Her little hand suddenly grabbed Ling's hand holding the steering wheel, and she choked up, "I've regretted it since the first day we broke up. I miss you every night, but I'm going to college and I can't." Fang Yumeng behind her also said softly, "Brother Ling, what my sister said is true. I often see her crying secretly in the house alone." Ling's heart trembled when he heard the words. He stared at the crying girl beside him, as if recalling the time when they were together. And Fang Yue was also looking at him, with anticipation hidden in those teary eyes. After being silent for a long time, Ling sighed softly. I said before, I don't want to lose the willow. Fang Yue said excitedly when she heard the words. I'm not. I'm still a virgin. If you don't believe me, you can. Before he finished speaking, he was stopped by Ling's eyes. After Ling stared at her for a moment, he shook his head slightly and said, But you still abandoned me after all. Hearing these words, Fang Yue's heart trembled fiercely. Tears gushed out like a spring, and Fang Yumeng behind her showed a wry smile. Seeing the girl beside him crying so sadly, Ling's heart softened. After a long sigh, he suddenly changed his expression and said with a faint smile, You were so outstanding before, and I have always tried to catch up with you.